Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude. An impromptu stream back with another one. This gonna be a late night banger. It's gonna be a doozy. And we gonna let the people gather in. And I will be remiss because before we get this thing started, I do not like to keep y'all waiting. So before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても
さすがいです。もう友達できたの？
うん。ぶったまんまこっち見ない。
This promethazine got me leaning like a cholo in the club. I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting moto. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no ho, no ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude. In the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really indie. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad.
Okay, here we are, and we are activated. Like I said, don't like to keep y'all waiting. I'm gonna get right into this, but it looks like we have been joined by a prestigious guest, none other than Ashura in building Sock Passe, brother. Yeah, so look, this is what we're going to get into. We're going to talk about Trump is just going completely scorched earth on the Somalis in Minnesota. You know, some of it is just his typical bigoted, anti-African, tirade, and some of it is need to be legitimately called out. So we are going to get into that. So before, let me just set the stage. Let me just make this little bit of ambiance, and we're going to get right into it. So first, I'm going to play a video of Trump at this press conference just having a completely deranged meltdown. I'm going to break this down, and then I'm going to transition into a video. So let's commence. And let me know if you have any issues hearing the video.
There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. We keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. You know, they came from paradise and they said, this isn't paradise. But when
So I know people will say, oh my God, how could Trump say that he's racist? Yeah, he's a bigot. He's no more racist than Joe Biden is. And I can prove with documentation that Joe Biden is actually even more racist than people perceive Trump to be. I can call it out. Trump was racist, Biden was racist, Bush was racist, Bill Clinton was racist, and Obama, Obama, was anti-black. So you can call him racist too. Oh, he's black, he can't be racist. Actually, he's biracial. So I don't know if it was his Kenyan side that was racist or his non-melanated side. Either way, Barack Obama is no different than Biden, which is why he chose Biden, even though he didn't like Biden, but he didn't care about us. So he was like, yeah, who cares about the crime bill and all of these bigoted things that Biden said and done? Hey, I just need to win these white people over. So come on down, Klansmen. So yeah, I'm not with the whole, Trump is the biggest, baddest boogeyman racist. I say he's actually least racist than some of these other people. I will acknowledge that he is racist and he is anti-black, but his racism, I prefer Trump's racism over all of the stuff. Would you want me saying F you to your face or F you behind your back? Trump, if he's going to be racist, let him be racist blatantly out in the open. We don't need any more covert, slick, and sly racists. We need them to say it with your chest. So that's what I'm saying. If people want to go around calling people the hard ERs, yes, we need more of that. Not because we want that. It's just because if you find it in your heart to dehumanize people and see them as niggers, right? Then yeah, we'll say it with your chest and let people know how you truly feel. If you truly believe that you're superior and your IQ is that high, then why would you care about what the lowly, marginalized, low IQ groups say? Wear your bigotry on a sleeve. That's what they used to do, but now they want to try to kind of do this kind of slick and slide thing where they want to be vile and vitriolic in their anti-blackness, but they just want to say, hey, why are you making it about race? No. If you hate black people, say it with your chest. At least we can respect that. Don't hate black people and try to say, no, I don't hate black people. It's just fatherless homes. Like, come on, bruh.
They come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch. We don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
I repeat my first question. Last week, the Iraqi militia groups attacked one of them.
Hey, bro, he's coming in hot. Damn, he just came in. He called Ilhan Omar garbage. He said, get the F out of here. Go fix your homeland. Some people was like, no, he can't say that. And others just like, let him cook.
Largest gas field in the Kurdistan region of Iraq, which even the US companies have invested in these gas fields.
Yeah.
And then
you from Iraq?
I'm from Kurdistan, Iraqi Kurdistan.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm working for Huda Media Network. And the Kurdistan region prime minister, he requested the United States providing them some sort of defense system to defending these gas fields.
All right, Ashura said you could hear it. All right, hold on. Let me see if you can hear it a little bit louder because I turned it up. I think it's just the music on the and I'll turn this one down. I just think some of the recordings, I don't think they're as loud as they could be, but I'm just going to play the video. I think once he starts talking to some of the other reporters, it will get louder.
And U.S. investment in the Kurdistan region. Are you willing to helping them?
Well, we'll look at it. I heard about it, and I'm hearing about it more now, frankly. It wasn't at the top of my list. It's a very unusual question, I think, but I assume you're from the area, and to you, it's a very important question, and to me, it is also, because people are being killed. I will say this, Iraq has been much different in terms of us than they were prior to us taking out the nuclear capability of Iran. Iran has gone down many.
Trump sounds like a bumbling, stumbling, blathering idiot. He said Iraq has been different since we left. Yeah, it's been different. You made it worse. He's talking about how they disabled their nuclear capabilities, but he's not talking about how they destabilized the region. They led to more violence, more chaos, more famine, more starvation, more depravity, more degeneracy, right? More disenfranchisement. So what the hell is he praising?
Steps in terms of its fear factor. They were the bully of the Middle East, and they're really not the bully of the Middle East anymore. And Iraq was being bullied by Iran. We had a president that thought it was brilliant to
We're not the world's police. So allegedly, he's saying that Iraq was the bully of the Middle East, but isn't Iraq smaller than Iran? So how was this supposedly small town where they say that these people were just refugees running around screaming Allahu Akbar and flip flops and RPGs, right? How were they bullying everybody who has alleged higher IQs and more sophisticated artillery, right? And then let's just say they were the bullies of the Middle East. Aren't we in America, North America specifically? So we're not the world's police. So if they were the bullies, let the Arabs and the Africans and the Middle Easterners, the people over there, let them handle it. We don't need to go over there and meddle and say, hey, because someone was getting bullied, then America has to step in. No, we're not the world's principal. We're not the world's police. We're not the world's moderator. Let them do whatever they're going to do over there.
Blow them up, and they blew them up, and all of a sudden, instead of having a power that was basically equal to Iran, they had Iran ruling the Middle East for a long period of time. But Iraq, from the day we hit them with those B-2 bombers and knocked out and obliterated, because CNN said, well, maybe it wasn't total obliteration. Well, it turned out it was totally obliterated.
Yeah, and this where Trump gets cowardly, because he'll call it Iraq and say, oh, they're the bullies of the Middle East. Okay, but he won't talk about Israel. He won't talk about them being the bully, the ones over there who have alleged nuclear capability, but they're lying about it. See, they keep going over here talking about, oh, we need to invade Iraq because they have weapons of mass destruction that we never found. And then we just said, oops, my bad, bro. They're the deletion total, some say, is in the millions. So we left millions of bodies over there to be deleted, and we're just like, oops, my bad, bro. You guys are the bully, and we need to help Israel because they're the only democracy in the Middle East. Like, come on, man, get out of here with that, bruh. Trump is a buck broken stooge. Bibi Netanyahu buck broke him. He went over there and bent the knee. He's always trying to puff his chest, bloviating, act like he's this big bad bully until he meets Bibi Netanyahu. Then he kisses the ring and kisses the booty. Let's commence.
Obliteration. It was every single one of those missiles hit its target. It was actually amazing, but it was wiped out, totally wiped out. I will tell you.
And people love to talk about the Black community, and they love the culture and degeneracy and violence. And here he is, glazing and praising and so happy that we dropped bombs on innocent people. Most of the casualty rate were civilians, and he's saying it was a beautiful thing. So it's like, okay, this is your culture. So don't try to wag your fingers and talk about the culture and twerking and all this stuff. What's worse? Someone sagging their pants, making rap music and having a video of girls twerking, or dropping bombs on millions of helpless people? I mean, which one is more degenerate? And do people even know the definition of degenerate? It has multiple definitions, but when people use the term degenerate, they're usually talking about this definition: immoral and corrupt behavior. What is moral about dropping bombs on people in a genocidal maniac fashion, right? And we already know how corrupt Congress is. So yeah, Donald Trump is as degenerate as it gets. So don't talk to me about the Black culture and they have an accountability problem. What MAGA people was holding Trump accountable for this? If anything, they're just trying to flip it and say, yeah, but the Democrats were woke. Okay, yeah, that's not holding Trump accountable by saying, but the Democrats did this. Okay, how are you holding Trump accountable? They don't. So don't talk to me about accountability that you're not even practicing.
Iraq has been a much friendlier place. They talk to us. the prime minister actually nominated me along with about 78 other countries for the Nobel Prize. I'm the only one that was nominated by almost 100 countries that didn't get it.
Damn, bro, do you ever not talk about yourself? See, they're asking him about other people, and he turns around and makes it about himself because he wants to get a Nobel Peace Prize. That Nobel Peace Prize is full of you know what, right? Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize after dropping pounds, metric tons of bombs on mostly civilians. And now Trump is aiding and abetting a genocide. He's aiding and abetting in military coups and regime change, dropping bombs on people, helping to starve people, helping to slaughter people. And all he's worried about is, am I going to get a Nobel Peace Prize?
But that's okay. But I saved a lot of lives. But Iraq nominated us for the Nobel.
And of course, I gotta give a shout out to the 504 boy, Wode, Louisiana, New Orleans in the building. Shout out to Braxton.
Nobel Prize, and that was a great honor. You know, we didn't expect that from Iraq. Iraq has been a much different place since the taking out of Iran and the nuclear capability. Yeah. Let's get to another question. Here we go. This guy's a beauty.
And then people just let Trump just get away with this. It's been a much different place. Yeah, much different as it got worse. And let's go back to that word degenerate, right? The conditions have degenerated since the U.S. went over there and met them. So what the heck are you praising? Imagine someone took over a football team, right? The football team was doing great, or maybe let's just say the football team was doing decent. You take over, and now the football team is horrible. It stinks. It's the worst team in the league. Shouldn't even be called a football team. Is that praiseworthy? And that's what Trump is doing now. Going to regions, countries, continents that he has no business in, helping to destabilize and destroy it, and then saying, hey, yeah, praise us. U.S. imperialism, U.S. exceptionalism. Let's give ourselves a pat on the back. And, hey, could you throw me in a Nobel Peace Prize? Come on.
Rubio mentioned the meetings ongoing in Russia today. Do you have any update from Mr. Wickoff and Mr. Kushner?
No, because I've been spending too much time with you. I mean, we're spending a lot of time in here. We wanted to do this you talk about being open and transparent. This has to be the most transparent administration in history. We spent a lot of time answering your questions and giving you a lot of good results. I mean, I think everybody here gave you good results. But no, I don't.
But see, this is the thing that they like to do. They always like to talk about that Adolf guy with the funny mustache and say he, slaughtered 6 million of this particular group, right? But then when you look at Obama, they won't say that, hey, Obama slaughtered millions of people. They won't even say that he slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people. But isn't that the same logic that you're doing with the guy with the funny mustache? He was in charge of that regime, so he told them to do this. So by extension, the soldiers that carried out his mission, he's going to be attributed to the deletions that they enacted upon that particular civilization, that particular demographic. Well, isn't that the same with Obama? Obama was the one calling the shots and pushing the buttons and saying, yeah, go into Libya and destabilize this place. And once he did that, it's like, oh, nope, his hands are clean. Nah, if there were, 1 million Iraqis deleted, that's on Bush's watch. If there were thousands of people in Syria and Libya deleted, that's on Obama's watch. So that means Obama deleted tens of thousands of people. Just like y'all allege the guy with the funny mustache slaughtered millions of people. Okay, cool. So did Bush. And Obama, hey, maybe it's millions, maybe it's tens of thousands, maybe it's hundreds of thousands. All I know that it's more than one. Have you ever deleted someone? No, but Obama has. Oh, no, he hasn't. He's pristine. His hands are clean. How is his hands clean when he drone strike more than anyone else? So he's calling on, he's the leader in charge, right? So when Obama calls for these drone strikes, how am I not to give him credit for that, right? How is that any different than the dude with the funny mustache? He called a shot, his soldiers handle business. He's the one who deleted 6 million of this particular group. But then with Obama, it's like, no, Obama never deleted anyone. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Just like the dude with the funny mustache.
I will have after I leave here.
But do you hope for a breakthrough, or is it not
I
quite
don't
at
know.
that stage?
I don't know.
With AI,
You can create any character you want in seconds.
this used to require huge Hollywood budgets.
Look, I don't know. All I can tell you is that we're trying very hard to save 25 to 30,000 people, mostly men, mostly soldiers, every month. 25,000 to 30,000 soldiers. It's impossible. That's half a stadium. Take a big football stadium. Take half of most, but a lot of other people do it too. They would send murderers into our country. They would empty their jails into our country. They sent people into our country that we don't want. They sent their drug dealers and their drug people into our country. They sent people from their mental institutions into our country, and we're getting them out.
So which one is it, bro? Because on one hand, you're saying immigrants built the nation and they work so hard. So if they work so hard, then shouldn't we open the floodgates? No, they don't work hard. It's like, which one is it? I thought you said that they work harder than Americans. So let's flood the gates with immigrants. No, we can't let them in. They're lazy. But you just said that they work hard. Oh, no, they're the model minorities. They're better than the blacks. Okay, cool. Let them over to replace the blacks. Oh, no. Now they might replace the whites, but hey, you said they were model minorities. What's the issue, right? I thought you said you don't see color. They see color because their birth rates are declining, but not with the immigrant population. Their birth rates are on the rise or steady. So these people, both parties support open borders, but they support them for different reasons. And they always try to go back and forth saying how immigrants built the nation and they worked so hard. So you should be ecstatic that Biden let in all of these immigrants. And then they turn around and say, no, deport them all. Like, which one is it? Did they build a nation? Do they work harder than American people or not?
It was bad. That was real bad. And they also said drugs. Yeah.
I'm Tim Wallace, Mr. President. Do you think he should resign over the fraud scandal in his state?
And who should?
Tim Wallace, over the fraud scandal in his state.
Look, I think the man's a grossly incompetent man. I thought that from the day I watched JD destroy him in a debate. I was saying, who was more incompetent, that man or my man? I had a man and he had a man. They were both incompetent. And I had a man and a woman. I thought she was very incompetent too, but now she's leading the field. And I think she's leading the.
Hey, well, I didn't censor you, so my channel is not monetized, so I don't have any censorious material over here, unless you said something and YouTube has some sort of glitch programmed into the algorithm. Yeah, I'm not monetized, but hey, I do accept donations and contributions if you want to hit your boy up. But yeah, my channel is not monetized, so I don't know why your comments are not showing. Yeah, I don't censor people, so let's get back into it.
Field in this for the nomination. Anyway, look, that's up to them. That's up to the Democrats. The problem with them is they have really bad policy. And I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want them to change it necessarily because I want to run against it. Whether it's not going to be me, it's going to be somebody that's going to probably sitting at this table. It could be a couple of people sitting at this table. Could be a couple of people running together sitting at this table, But I want them to win because we've done a great job for this country and I want that to be carried forward.
Trump is always lying, but politicking, it's all about lies. But the MAGA maniac base, they never hold them accountable. This is why I never let people get off that delusional trope that, black people have an accountability problem. No, MAGA has an accountability problem. They do not hold Trump accountable for anything.
And I think we have a tremendous bench, really a tremendous bench. But no, I think that Waltz is a grossly incompetent man. There's something wrong with him. Okay, there's something wrong with him.
This I do concur. There is something wrong with Tim Walz where he's always acting like he's just this jolly, jovial giant. And, his policies where he was pushing to get tampons in men's bathroom, just things that's not a kitchen table issue. When you're thinking about mortgage, when you're thinking about interest rates, you're thinking about life and health insurance. You're not thinking about, what? I want my son, Billy Bob, to be able to have tampons in the bathroom. That's not what you're thinking about. But Democrats will be willing to crash out over these idiotic issues and then wondering, why they say that they have an issue connecting with young men. And then instead of trying to refocus and reframe their message to attract and appeal to young men, they just say, you know what, you guys, you're toxic with your masculinity. Okay, so are you toxic with your femininity? Are you toxic with your liberalism? Are you toxic with your progressivism? You can't say that. But they can call you a toxic, masculine, misogynist all the time. But they never talk about misandry. A lot of people don't even know the definition of misandry, but they do know the definition of misogyny. Bit odd, wouldn't you say?
And when you look at what he's done with Somalia, which is barely a country, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all.
Okay, hold on. Bro is about to go in. He said they have no structure. They're just running around killing each other. Where have we heard this before? They've used this type of rhetoric on us when they wanted to get the crime bills passed, when they wanted to demonize us as niggas and get us lynched in the street. This is the same rhetoric. It's just now he's turning his vitriol and his cyclop laser eyes onto the Somalians in Minnesota. But it looks like I've been joined by some prestigious guests. Have my eyes deceived me? Hold on, man, because I usually send out to invites, but sometimes people don't, they don't always pull up. So hold on, man. Let me check.
Oh, damn! Stop the press. Wait a minute. I know you. Wait a minute.
Stop the press. It looks like we've been joined by an illustrious guest, none other than John Sinatra in the building. Also, we got the mayor, M3, Mr. Knowledge and Relationships. My bad. I was had a peppermint, so that caused my lisp. So I didn't want to call you Knowledge and Relation Lisp. So Mr. Knowledge and Relationships himself, M3, in a building.
But I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly, our Constitution, the United States. Somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all. But I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly, our Constitution, the United States of America is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that, Scott, I hear they ripped off Somalians. ripped off that state for
Yes, KNR stands for Knowledge and Relationships. So if you get a chance, go ahead and check out that channel. Obviously, after you watching this stream, but check out Knowledge and Relationships. They got great content over there, and also John Sinatra. He is a phenomenal artist. Make sure that you check him out. We'll definitely have some projects coming in the future. 2026 is gonna be lit.
billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's
Bro just said out the gate, I don't want you here. People don't have to like it, but I respect that. If you was at someone else's house and they didn't want you there, would you rather them say, hey, I don't want you there, or them just walking around, no, I don't want you grunting and doing all this passive aggressive stuff. You don't want me here. Let me know so you can say it with your full chest. So now I know how to address you. Now I know how to accordingly act and respond around you. So, hey, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with him, but what I am saying is that I could appreciate his honesty, because all these other people, many Democrats who claim to be on Ilhan Omar's side, they agree with Trump, but they just won't say it as blatant and as raw like this. And as Ashura says, technically he's not wrong about the incompetence of Ilhan Omar. I concur. I would say that it's not that she's incompetent. I just think that she is arrogant. She's also reckless, and she's Somali first. And, you know, it's nothing wrong with that because she's a Somali, right? The thing is, she's an American congressperson. So there lies the issue. So people have questions, rightly or wrongly, about dual allegiance and things like that. And then we're going to get into the scamming of the Somalis. And notice, right? Notice they're emphasizing on calling them Somali. This is delineation. They're not calling them Africans, even though Somalia is where? Yeah, they're not calling them Africans. They're not calling them African Americans. They're not calling them black. Let me say that one more again. They're not calling them black. And Somalis never really called themselves black until it was time to get like a benefit that says, here's this African American grant. Yeah, I'm African American too. Look, I'm Somali, and Somali's in Africa, and I'm an American citizen, African American. But then as soon as they get those benefits, then they say with their full chest, I'm Somali. I'm not black. I'm Somali. I'm Somali. I'm Somali. Okay, cool. Stay Somali. Stay Nigerian. Stay Senegalese. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you try to just wear blackness and act like, hey, you know, I can tether on and to this lineage for benefits and then just discard it, you know, when I get tired or when I get bored. Yeah, those days are over.
It's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too.
Now he's just going in. Their country stinks. We don't want them in our country. They're good for nothing. Tell them how you really feel. Let me rewind that back.
Ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing.
Uh-oh.
Oh, damn! Dr. Fred, wait a minute. I know you. Wait a minute.
So we've been joined by the marvelous, the magnificent, the captivating, sincere Saida in the building. Salute. So let me see what this lovely sister has to say. She said when the Australian woman was murked by the Somalian cop in Minnesota, there was a big rift that occurred between the Somalian community and the FBA community because the Somalians felt like FBA should support them. See, this is the thing, and this is not exclusive to Somalians. All of these non-FBA communities, since we have been society's doormat where people could just step in dog poo and in here, hey, go wipe it off over on the FBA doormat. So when they come to their house, they walking in with clean and pristine shoes. And a lot of times we was just saying, you know what, we're all people of color. We're all from African descent. We're all minorities. We're all marginalized groups. We was coming up with all of these little goofy terms and lingos to put everyone issues ahead of ours while we just kept staying at the bottom. And the whole thing is we didn't mind doing that because that actually is part of our culture where the issues arises that nobody else was on that type time. We was crashing out for everybody else and nobody else was crashing out for us. Somalis are Somalis first. They don't see themselves as African American. They don't see themselves as black. And I say that's perfectly fine. So when it's some Somali business, that ain't FBA business. Y'all know what season it is? Tis the season. I ain't talking about fa la 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 la. I ain't talking about Jolly and Saint Nick. I'm talking about tis the season. Hold your own nut season. That's what I'm saying. Hey, FBAs, we will handle our own issues. We don't need no outside interference. We don't need no outside advice. So when Somalis is going through they scamming stuff, hey, that's on y'all. Hold your own nuts. We ain't coming to your defense because peep this. When they was doing all those scams, it wasn't thousands. It wasn't hundreds of thousands. It wasn't even millions. It was billions. Did y'all hear me? I said with a B and make that B capital. Billions. And how many of those billions did they give to FBA? Not a scintilla, not a buffalo nickel. So what the hell will we look like crashing out for y'all? Hell to the no, no, no. Many of y'all see yourselves as Arab. Where's the Arab community to crash out for you, right? You guys are African, right? Palestinians are African too. Lebanese people are African too. Egyptians are African too. Sudan, right? So go talk to those people about crashing out for y'all. But no, y'all don't even look to the continent. Y'all look to foundational Black Americans. Y'all tell us that we're not African. And then when we say, you know what, we're not. We're foundational Black American. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you're from. No, I know exactly where I'm from. My homeland is here, America. You know the place that you're trying to flee to? Yeah, that's where I'm from.
Thing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too. I can say it about other countries too. We don't want them the hell. We have to rebuild our country.
Bro is going in. We do not want them here. We got to rebuild our country. We do have to rebuild our country. But this is the thing. Y'all just let a lot of people come in that they didn't vet. And look, I don't think that every immigrant is bad, and definitely not every Somali person is bad. But see, I can be petty like many people do with us, and especially many Somalis on Twitter and on Clubhouse. They just hold spaces all day denigrating FBA, you know, talking about how we have no culture and all this other type of stuff, right? So let's just hold all of those tropes that they have against us. We're these low IQ monkeys, uneducated thugs, right? So why the hell would you expect an FBA to crash out? We're too dumb, right? We're too lazy. Sorry, bro, I would help you, but I'm just a dumb, lazy nigga. My bad, can't help you. You on your own. Tis the season to hold your own nuts.
You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other.
But hold on, let me address what you said. So how do they not see themselves as Black even though they're not FBA centric? Well, once again, when have you ever heard Ilhan? Find me a video of Ilhan Omar referring to herself as Black. Don't worry, I'll wait. This is the same thing with Kamala Harris' dad. There's nowhere on record. No one could ever find himself. Look at someone like James Brown. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud, right? We've always leaned into it. Even the people that say, like my boy John, who say so-called black, they'll call themselves so-called black. So they'll at least put a qualifier on it. Show me a video of Ilhan Omar or these Somalis calling themselves black. They don't do it. And if they do, it's to get benefits. This is not like some sort of epiphany or groundbreaking news. It's always been like that. The thing is, there hasn't been a delineation movement. So now people are trying to act clueless. There's countless videos, posts, written document of people. I'm not black, I'm Nigerian. I'm not black, I'm Haitian. I'm not black, I'm Somali. I'm not black, I'm Puerto Rican. I know black, Poppy. Like, come on. This wasn't just Dominicans saying that. Many people know this, but now they're acting confused. We're all black. We're all one big global Negro. No, bro. In Africa, you guys are not united. You guys don't see yourself as one big global Negro here. Many people on the continent are super tribal. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. Africa, 54 plus countries, 3,000 plus tribes, 2,000 plus dialects. Does that sound uniform? Does that sound cohesive? Does that sound united? I'm just saying.
And we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it.
Yeah, so people get they get extremely uptight when people say things like that. Hey, go back, to your homeland and fix it. But there are a lot of people that do need to go back to their homeland, not just because it's just, a bigoted thing, just because think of it like this. Whatever your favorite basketball team is, the Golden State Warriors, right? Imagine if Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, and all of the best players are saying, hey, we want to see the Warriors thrive, but we're going to go play for the Lakers. So you're going to help the Lakers win the championship. You're buffing up the Lakers, but what does that do for the Warriors? It leaves the Warriors in a stagnated state. And then we're going to look back and say, why are the Warriors not making the playoffs? Why are the Warriors not winning the championship? Why? Because their best players keep leaving the team. Their best players are going to enrich other teams. They claim to be Warriors, yet they're not playing for the Warriors. Does that make any sense to you? People don't gotta like Bibi Netanyahu, but Bibi Netanyahu was standing on Israel business. He wouldn't be able to do that from Philadelphia, where people allegedly say that he's from. Yeah, you can go back and forth, but I'm just saying, when you want to make a commitment to nation build, you have to be in said nation. Imagine me going around saying, I'm the king of Oakland. Okay, bro, where you live at? Pennsylvania. So hold on, you're not even in the state of California. Not only you're not in the state of California, you're also not in the city of Oakland, but you're the king of Oakland from Pennsylvania, the East Coast. So that's what people are like looking at. Some of these people, they like to wag their fingers and say how smart they are, how hard working they are, how clever and cunning they are, but they're not using any of those skills to enrich their nation. And then they bring it back to U.S. imperialism, which I agree. So it's like, where's your content about that? Where's your push to, to smash the U.S. Imperialistic war machine? They're not doing that. Instead, they're touting degrees, saying how much better they're doing than FBAs and how their culture is superior. And then it gets into a roasting match, and we are the last And I do mean the last group that you want to get into a roasting match with. That's part of our culture. We like to roast. See, what people don't get is like, bruh, if we'll roast our own mamas, our daddies, our cousins, we'll clown on ourselves. If I'm a clown on myself, why the hell wouldn't I clown on you? Is no love? Actually, it is love. Because if we clowning on the ones that we love and we all supposed to be brothers and sisters and cousins from the diaspora, you can get it too. You know what I mean? But it looks like we've been joined by another prestigious guest. Big Rig on the block. Bro is about to start back cooking with his season 2. Sub to the dude because I know he got some fire about to cook up. But let me get into this video because this is the thing. This is not to just, bash Ilhan Omar or Somalis, because I actually don't like Ilhan Omar, but she has come over here extra arrogant. But what I'm saying is, I don't think groups should be generalized and say, hey, this small percentage of a group did this, so that means this entire group is like that. But isn't that what they do with us? One random, dusty, musty, crusty nigga in Chicago does a drive-by and suddenly, that's black culture. How the hell is that black culture? I don't know that goofy nigga that did that drive-by, so how is that on me? You know what I mean? But then on the flip side, if I turn and look at not tens of thousands, not millions, but billions that multiple, actually dozens of Somali people scammed, and I say, that's Somali culture. You can't generalize. Okay, like which one is worth? Scamming billions from taxpayers or one random dude doing a drive-by and getting locked up for life, being held accountable by the system? You know what I mean? So, we have to be careful with these allegations. But let me get ready to pull up this other video and we're going to get right back into it. So just give me uno momento and I'm going to pull up this other video. And I just want to give a special shout out to the chat, the people viewing this live concurrently, the replay gang. Y'all can be anywhere in the world. Y'all chose to be here with me, at least momentarily. And for that, I thank you. So I'm just going to play this quick visual while I pull up this other video. Uno momento.
That was nasty, bro, like a nasty. Oh, I got a nasty flow. My baddie, though, is a classy bro. I manage her and she escort. International exports. I got hardware, my tech support. Really about that business, cause I'm that dude that you just adore. Used to be on that block, equipped with a Glock. I sold all kind of dope. 10 toes down on the pavement. I send that bitch like an envelope. Enclosed with a love letter. I love cheddar, so I grind hard. I be putting that work in, but I ain't punching no time card when it comes to being a boss, nigga. I am the epitome. You keep hating, belly aching, but it takes more to get rid of me. I am full of energy, but I ain't feeling jittery. I'm just grinding, shining like a diamond, looking glittery. Literally, I just left the bank to deposit racks. Holla back, don't want no shoes and clothes because my closet's packed. I got hella different kicks just like Lionel Messi. Still be rocking Jordans, but I prefer Giuseppe.
And we back at it. So this video I'm about to react to is by the brother Tim Black, and this is a continuation of what I'm talking about, how Trump would scorch earth on Somalis, specifically Ilhan Omar, which he really does despise her. But people are just glossing over the fact of these billions lost. Like I said, it wasn't tens of thousands, wasn't hundreds of thousands, wasn't even millions. Billions. Have y'all ever scammed this? See, when they talk about FBAs they be getting tickets for jaywalking. FBAs is getting locked up for selling apes. Meanwhile, we got Somali immigrants and refugees scamming billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars. Let's get into it.
Scammed out by Somali refugees and asylum seekers. Elaborate network of ways they were stealing. Watch how the Democrats try to gaslight their way out of taking responsibility.
Well, speaking of the Somali community, President Trump is targeting them and your state in part. He's citing fraud as the reason for his crackdown. Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know,
did y'all hear that? More than $1 billion. I've said it multiple times. More than $1 billion. So once again, point to the FBA community scam that has completed a scam like this. Once again, I'm not into generalized entire communities, but y'all know my acronym CESL, S-E-S-L. Same energy, same logic. Keep the same energy, apply the same logic, right? If this was an FBA community, what would they be talking about? It's Black culture, fatherless homes. This is what they would be talking about. Why is no one asking about who raised these Somalis, right? Why the word culture is not even getting mentioned? Billions of dollars have been stolen, swindled, bamboozled, scammed from the American people. But suddenly the word culture is not even being mentioned. Nothing of fatherless homes are being taught. Like, did they grow up in fatherless homes? Did these Somalis have 2 parents in the house? I mean, I would like to know.
Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud?
From government programs and sincere, peep this. What do people always tell the FBA? Y'all need to stop begging the government. And then as soon as people come over here, immigrants, refugees, who is the first person that they go knocking on the door? Big Daddy government. Elon Musk, the Mr. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, even though that's not what he did. Elon Musk. Who's he always begging to? The government. Jeff Bezos, government. Bill Gates, government. All of these big wigs, they rely, their wealth was built and created by the government. But what do they tell you? Stop acting like a victim. So you're supposed to pay taxes, but you ain't supposed to ask the government for anything? Does that make any sense to you? The government is bullying you around, telling you to wear a mask when it's C-19, telling you here we gonna tax you, telling you that if somebody sends you a Cash App, we gotta send you a 1099-K form and you gotta report that. Did you know that if you stripping, you supposed to report that? Did you know if you hoeing, even on the blade on E14, technically you're supposed to report that? If you own OnlyFans, you're supposed to report that. You know what I mean? So you're supposed to pay all these taxes. They're supposed to get their hand in every little thing, but you're not supposed to ask the government for anything. The government facilitates all this. The government helped facilitate Jim Crow laws, redlining, and slavery. So the government facilitated it, cultivated the environment, but when it's come time to pay for recompense, no, don't beg the government. It was the government's fault. But you're telling me that it was the government's fault, but someone else should be on the hook for what the government was at fault for? Does that make any sense to you? So this is the brainwash that unfortunately many of us have subscribed to, that they think that, if you ask the government for anything, it's begging. But as soon as people come across the border, legally or illegally, the first people that they want to talk to and get some goodies, giveaways, and guarantees from is the government. It's the government.
Out in your state.
Well, certainly, I take responsibility for putting people in jail.
Y'all let them get away with doing that. $1 billion, fam.
Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. It's not just Somalis. It's not just Somalis.
I hate when people do that. It's not just Somalis. Okay, who else is it? Right? So if you're trying to protect that group, whatever alleged group is, then why even bring it up and say it's not just Somalis, right? Why don't you say it's not just Somalis, it's also this group and that group and that group? If you're not going to drop no receipts or no names, why even mention it? And y'all will want to tune in tomorrow, season 2. West Coast Wednesday, 7 p.m. I believe that's Eastern Standard Time on the block with Rig. And why aren't they saying where there's fathers? That's what I've been saying. any little thing that we do, right? Remember, there was just a recent thing in Chicago where some Bay's kids, some unruly kids, had attacked a mother. That was disgusting. But guess what? Remember, they say the Black community has an accountability problem. What did the community do? They banded together and say, this is unacceptable. This is disgusting. Where are these kids' parents? These kids need to be punished. Show me the outpour of Somalis saying that these Somalis need to be punished and deported. Instead, they're rallied around it and saying, we ain't going nowhere. No one is showing any remorse for these crimes. And I'm not saying the entire group should be generalized. However, if we gonna generalize FBAs, then we got to generalize every other group, right? We've been getting stereotyped our entire lives, so we're okay with it. Stereotype us as low IQ, uneducated, thuggish monkeys who love watermelon and fried chicken. That's fine. But when I turn around and stereotype you, you know, as someone who loves bushmeat, you know, who loves lemon pepper leopard legs, who loves hyena hush puppies, right? Hey, it's just jokes. It's just a word, right? Ain't that what y'all tell us? Don't be triggered. Don't be snowflakes. Yeah, bruh. We got stereotypes about y'all too. So, hey, all stereotypes matter. All slurs matter. All that stuff y'all be calling us a kata, a jareer, a bee. I say keep calling us that. But then when y'all we giving y'all a mild one. When we call y'all tether, I mean, that's mild compared to what y'all call us. So, I mean, let's keep it real. And we're not calling all of you tethers. Tethers is an action word. You behave like a tether. That's why you get called one. But you're not a tether just because you have a non-FBA background or you have an immigrant background. But see, with us, they don't draw the distinction when they're calling us a kata. They're talking about our entire lineage. When they call us a bead, which means slave, they're talking about our entire lineage. They're not saying some of you are beads and some of you are not. And then peep this, they got all these disgusting derogatory slurs for us. But guess who they don't have any slurs for? The W man. Y'all, the people that are smacking you around and colonize you, you have no slurs and no epithets for them. But for the people, the only group that would actually even lift a finger to try to bust a grape for you, you got all sorts of slurs and disgusting terms for us. And then you saying why we ain't crashing out for y'all. Y'all know what I said. Y'all know what season it is. Hold your own nuts.
Please. Fine, you're a Democrat, Tim Walz, but it's okay not to like people robbing your state. You can be mad at them. It doesn't make you a bad progressive.
Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. There's a reason Minnesota ranks as the top, lowest childhood poverty, best place for children to live. People are taking advantage of that. They're going to prison.
Nobody likes being robbed. Let the gaslighting commence.
That is totally disconnected with demonizing an entire group of people who came here fleeing civil war and created a vibrant community that makes Minnesota and this country better. But that's Donald Trump. Deflect.
So look, man, I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm not even trying to be rude. You know, I'll probably lose some subs after this stream because I know a lot of people have bleeding hearts for every group except for FBA. But see, when these people say, I was fleeing gang violence, there's gangs in Oakland. There's gangs in St. Louis. There's gangs in Chicago. How many times have you heard somebody say, oh, what about Chicago, right? Isn't that why they call it Chirac? They're saying it's a war zone. Okay, so where could the people in Chicago and Chirac flee to? Shut up, nigga. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Where could the kids in Oakland fleeing gang violence? Where could they flee to? Shut up. Stop complaining. Stop acting like a victim. Then in another country, Mexican cartels, they're fleeing gang violence. Oh, there's a civil war in Somali. Oh, Sudan. And look, all of that stuff is horrible. Like, I don't want to see people being demonized, being decimated, right? I don't want to see that. But if we're going to be, you know, unsympathetic to the plight of what FBAs are going through, then I say, okay, you know what? Hold your own nuts, right? Y'all deal with y'all civil war over there, right? If our culture is so degenerate, so disgusting, and it's such a war zone, how can I worry about a war zone in Africa? Don't I need to clean up the war zone and my homeland? Don't I need to make the streets of Chicago safer before worried about Somalia? Don't I need to make the streets of Oakland safer before worried about Senegal? And then they try to say, oh, it's all connected. No, it's not connected. You're trying to make it connected so that, I'm distracted. But me right now, because people, when they say, what about black on black crime? They're not talking about Somalia, right? They're talking about American cities. So in order to clean up the American cities, so imagine that your room was messy, right? And somebody says, clean up your room. And you say, you know how I'm gonna clean up my room? I'm finna go over to Sincere's house and clean up her living room. How the hell does that clean up your room? Your room is still messy. But Sincere's house is clean, yeah, and yours is still messy. The house that you was complaining about. So if Oakland is so bad, and the way for me to clean up Oakland is to go to the suburbs and help pick up trash in the suburbs that don't really need my help, how does that help Oakland, right? That's why I'm B1, Black First, because all of these disgusting tropes and stereotypes that we get tagged with, generalized and demonized with, someone has to work to reform and rectify that. So I have to do that from the belly of the beast here, right? They talk about U.S. imperialism, right? We know it better than anyone. We're in the belly of the beast, so you're not telling us anything. The stuff that they are doing abroad, they've already done here on FBAs. There's nothing that you can say, oh, look, there's a genocide over here. They've genocided us here. They're ethnociding us now. When someone says they're gentrifying a neighborhood, all that is a polite, sanitized version of ethnic cleansing. You think it's not? Shout out to Sabby Sabs, my girl Sabby Sabs. She did a documentary, and Jason Black too. He did one across the entire America where he talks about gentrification. Sabby Sabs did one specific in Boston, how black people are being removed, aka gentrified. But how is the air quote Hispanic population growing in Massachusetts? And the Asian population is growing. Literally every population grew in Massachusetts except for one group. Yes, you guess what group that was. How is that not ethnic cleansing? That's deeper. That's way deeper than just a simple gentrification. It's ethnic targeting. But you can't name a year, a decade, a moment in this country in your existence that we haven't been targeted. And us calling it out is not being a victim. You know what I mean?
Demonized, come up with no solutions. He's not going to help fix anything on fraud.
It's a thing, man, boy. That's all they got. It's Trump blame. Trump didn't have anything to do with this. He criticized it, but he had nothing to do with it. That's why I never buy into it, man.
So I could do a live. I don't know how much is it a worthy debate, because it's not really, I think many people are just kind of scrapping ADOs simply because this is how I look at it, right? I don't see, I identify as foundational Black American, but I don't beef with somebody if they want to say that they're African American or American descendant of slaves. The thing is with the American descendant of slaves, where I think there was a misstep, is that Yvette and Tone, they were going around saying that they were the leaders and I'm your mama, I'm the mama of ADOS, and people was like, hold on, what? So imagine someone else saying they're the mama of African American, right? It would be the same thing. You'd be like, huh? Because if that's the case, is Jesse Jackson the daddy of African American? No, that would sound buffoonish, but that's why some people are looking at the ADOs where it's like, hold on, we're talking about a specific lineage. So they're saying that it is a lineage, but it's also an advocacy group, which there's nothing wrong with the advocacy group, but it kind of muddies the water. But also, I just think the terminology is still not tight enough for people to not try to tether onto it. For instance, there's many of people that say, hey, I'm a descendant of slave, and now I'm an American citizen, which makes me an American descendant of slave. So it's a lot of things where people try to do this kind of run around backdoor tethering onto a specific lineage. And I've heard people say, I've heard an Irish person say, hey, we were enslaved even though they were indentured servants, and then they try to say they're American, put those two together, American descendant of slave. I've heard Jamaicans say, hey, you know, Jamaica is part of the Americas, and Jamaica was a slave colony, American descendants of slaves. So that's why people say foundational Black American. And if you want to get it complete, foundational Black American, Negro, freedman. So they tried to take Negro out, but like, hey, I'd rather be called a Negro than a person of color. I'd rather be called a Negro than an African American, because none of these other groups, they never even called themselves African American until there was a benefit for them. These other groups didn't call themselves Black, whether they knew they were Black, whether they identified as Black. When it came to you know, paper and spoken word, they just weren't doing that, you know what I mean? But now many people are trying to rewrite the narrative and act like they always identified as Black. But I think it's ultimately up to people to identify how they want. I just think, you know, foundational Black American is just a more codified term. More people are being galvanized by that term, but the legal political term is freedmen. So, you know, people are working, you know, to try to get that on. But now in California, now they do have delineation in California, and we're trying to push it to get it nationwide. So when it says Black or African American, you have to list, okay, are you Nigerian? Are you Senegalese? You know, because before, you know, we were all just one big global Negro. And then, you know, when someone from Somalia does a crime, it's like they're African American. Nah, they're Somali American. No, that was a Nigerian. Because, hey, if FBI's are so degenerate, then yeah, let's disaggregate the data. Let's disaggregate the data and see who's really doing the crime, right? I think that would be the fairest thing that we can do. And he says, why do they say they're Aboriginal? What if that only applied to Native Americans? Well, I mean, that will be a different discussion. I can get into that, but the whole Native American term, you know, once again, they weren't called. What did they call themselves before they were called Native American? They didn't call themselves Native American. That was imposed on them, just like African American. Just like same thing, like many of these tribes, they were named by the so-called oppressor. These weren't the names that they came up themselves. And then even the air quote Native Americans, many of them immigrated here. And foundational Black Americans, by any sense of the word, are not immigrants, because not all of us came through the transatlantic slave trade, but let's just say that 100% of us came through the transatlantic slave trade. I don't know how many times I have to say this until I'm blue in the face. Forcibly transporting someone, hostage taking, kidnapping, that's not immigration by any sense of the word. There's no definition of immigration that you can find that says involuntary taking people. Immigration relies on a voluntary choice. So yes, there's really nowhere comparable. That's why people say we're the only non-immigrant group. Not only that, when people speak and say that they're Aboriginal or indigenous, many of them are saying they're indigenous to the United States. Because don't take my word for it, look it up. There wasn't just this big utopia that was presently constructed as the United States. You know, obviously there were, you know, parts controlled by France, parts controlled by Spain, etc. So people are saying we're indigenous to the building of what's today known as the United States. Because when you're looking at the American continent, obviously there's South America, Central America, etc. We're talking about the United States because, yes, people from Central and South America are from the continent, but they have to immigrate to the United States, which means they're in an immigration database. They have to get some sort of green card and things like that. Foundational Black Americans don't have that same history because we are constitutionally recognized. And sometimes, you know, people get upset about that because I guess they want us to be immigrants. That's why people just keep pushing, we're a nation of immigrants and America was built by immigrants, which is pretty disgusting and disrespectful because, hey, let's just say, since Ashura is talking about Native Americans, are they saying that Native Americans didn't build anything? Because if you ask them, are Native Americans immigrants? They will say, no, they're indigenous. So are you saying that the indigenous people didn't build anything? Because you're saying the indigenous are not immigrants. And then you turn it around and say America was built by immigrants. So that means that the indigenous didn't do nothing, right? Isn't that what you're saying? No, I'm not saying that. Well, then what are you saying? And then if you're saying the indigenous built something, what did they build? Tell me the cities, tell me the structures. And then it just goes back and forth. And then when we say, hey, look, we did build that, right? We built the White House. You can go down the litany of things that we built. It wasn't just cotton, tobacco, rice, and all sorts of other industries that people can just pull up right now. And then when we give the litany of things that we built, then they say, well, what about the Native Americans? Well, what did they build? It just goes back and forth. Right? So that's when people say we're indigenous to the United States of America. Some people say to the continent, but the majority of people are talking about the United States, not necessarily South America, not Central America, not Canada, nowhere where someone has to immigrate to. We're talking about the United States, and it's really irrefutable. People just want to make us comparable to immigrants so that we're a nation of immigrants sounds better. Or it was built by immigrants. No, it wasn't. It was built so that immigrants can have a place to come to and contribute. Did immigrants contribute immensely? Yes, they contributed to something that was already built and established, which is why they immigrated here. Many times they were failing in their homeland or they were in dire conditions. And there's nothing wrong with that. You go to seek better opportunities. So if you went to a better opportunity, that means something better was already constructed, already built, and you continued building from there. Once I've said this multiple times. How many times when people say, who built the railroads? And this is for people in the chat. Who built the railroads? Who do they give credit to? Y'all know who they give credit to. The Chinese built the railroad. And how many times do I have to tell y'all that? The Chinese built the least amount of railroad, but somehow they get the most amount of credit. Don't take my word for it. They built less than 700 miles of railroad. Hey, that was a great contribution. Bravo, a pat on the back. I'm not trying to disparage or denigrate them, but why do they just blankly say Chinese built the railroads? Why don't they say FBA built the railroads? Friedman built the railroad? Because we built close to 9,000 miles. What is a bigger number, 9,000 or 700? They built about 700 miles. It was really less than 700, but I'm rounding up. They built about 700 miles of railroad. The Chinese FBAs built over 9,000 miles. But why do people never say Black Americans, FBAs built the railroad? They give it to the Chinese who built the least. That's what people call the great replacement, or I'll say the great erasure strategy. It's not a theory, it's a strategy. Do y'all know there was a mythical character, I think it was John Henry, of this big buff Black dude working on the railroad? If Chinese people built the railroad, where is their mythical Asian character that was, speeding through and building railroad? Don't worry, I'll wait. And I want y'all to fact check me on this. And if y'all really want me to, I will just pull it up in real time. But yeah, don't take my word for it. There's Copilot, Grok, Google Gemini, Claude AI. Look at any of those, and they will let you know that what I'm saying is unequivocal fact. FBA's built the most amount of railroad, yet they give all the credit to the Chinese. That's everything that we create. They try to give credit to someone else. We created hip hop. No, it was the African drums and it was the Caribbean. And then you just ask them a simple question. Who is the African version of Kendrick or Tupac or even an E40, a Too Short? And they have nobody, and they say, yeah, but they got it from these African drums. It's like, we didn't grow up rapping, listening to no African drums or no Jamaican toasting. Nothing against that. It's just other groups were influenced by us. And then, once we allow them in, then suddenly they say that they created it. But, that's a whole nother thing. Let me get back into it and I'll get back to the comments though.
I reject that progressive shit. It's bogus, it's bullshit. Tim Walsey, but he had nothing to do with it. That's why I never buy into it, man. That's why I reject that progressive shit. It's bogus, it's bullshit. Tim Walsey, when he found out some people stole all that money, he was that nice. Yeah, I don't believe for a second. When he found out that he was just like, I'm just a knucklehead. No, I think he was pissed off. In fact, if he wasn't pissed off, I think he was in on it. In comes Trump.
Anything on fraud. My God, there's a big difference between fraud and corruption is something he knows about.
How about that? In that same post, you mentioned Tim Walz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand?
Okay, so who is we? Who is we? Don't call them native for nothing, because some people don't even call themselves native. Some people call themselves indigenous, and many people say, hey, I'm Cherokee, I'm Seminole. They don't say that I'm Native American, I'm Choctaw. And then you're saying they were here first on Turtle Island. How do you know that? And who was they, right? Who is the they that you're referring to? And then when people say they were here first, okay, so when they came here, you're telling me that nobody else was here, was just an empty land, that nobody else was here, right? Could you prove that? And then if they were here first on Turtle Island, why aren't they calling themselves Native Turtle Islanders? Native Turtle Islanders, right? What is stopping them from calling themselves that? Many of their names are given to them by their oppressor, right? We're from Turtle Island, but we're gonna let our oppressor call us Native American? Okay. And okay, the first to be enslaved, okay, let's just say that was true. Does that matter when they were engaging in the slave trade too? Even when people talk about the Trail of Tears, they make it as this tearful indigenous aboriginal Turtle Island story, but they don't talk about the slaves that they were owned and that were being deleted during that transport. Don't take my word for it, just look it up. Why? Because people will say, well, some blacks own slaves too. Well, yeah, if someone had the status of a slave, in order to free their family member, they had to own a slave, right? Can we say that was the same circumstance with the Native Americans? Sure, some of them were like that. Many of them were not. Why doesn't that never get talked about? It's just like they were enslaved, they were here first. Yeah, they were here first, enslaving people.
By that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
You don't think
you have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that
I like Turtle Islanders. I would like that better than a Native American, especially if that's what this is called. Because, people are saying, it was a genocide, in which they did do this genocidal maniac stuff. They slaughtered a bunch of buffaloes so that they couldn't eat. They did a lot of maniac stuff. So if this land was called Turtle Island, I would call myself a Turtle Islander.
Would do what he did. Anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
Mr. President, you said build a website you love with Wix. For your words?
You're supposed to be pissed off when people rob you, Tim.
I do, before we move on, want to give you a chance to respond to something else that the president said. He said that Congresswoman Ilhan Omar probably came to the U.S. illegally, mocked the hijab that she wears, and he called your governor, quote, retarded.
Really, Johnson? Really, that's what we're doing. That's what it's all about, fam. This is a conversation they're having right now. Not about the billions. No, not about the billions of dollars taken out of people's pockets. Remember, taxes are not freely given. If you don't pay taxes, your ass go to jail. So people are forced to give taxes up. I got a feeling most of those people did not expect that money to go to a bunch of Somalis who weren't in the country to be stolen.
These words shouldn't even be repeated by anyone, much less a president of the United States.
Yeah, now they got to stop with this, man. So instead of talking about the billions, they're trying to tone police and say that President Trump said something mean. Wasn't she, Amy Klobuchar was like, she the governor or the attorney general? So, no, I think Tim Walz was the governor, but she was a high-ranking congressperson. And what does she have to say about her state being swindled, stolen, scammed for billions of dollars? She worried about Trump calling someone a mean word? Are you kidding me?
He goes after our governor and uses a slur that, by the way, has now led a legislator in Indiana who has a kid with.
Well, allegedly, some of those billions went to enrich some alleged terrorist groups over there. All of this is alleged, but they're saying that multiple millions were sent back to Somalia to fund some sort of terrorist groups. I don't know if it was some sort of jihadist type of thing. They're trying to say it was some sort of Islamic extremists. You know how they kind of gaslight with those terms. But in terms of the money being transferred in exchange, apparently that is serious. And also, they're alleging that they set up like a bunch of dummy corporations, and that they were using the billions to build them. So let's say they might start, and this is just a hypothetical example, let's say they'll start a cleaning company, and then they'll say, hey, look, we need to come and clean Ilhan Omar's office, and we're going to charge her $100,000 to do it. And then they'll have the LLC and all this other stuff, so it just gets charged. But once again, we're not talking about hundreds of thousands. Any of y'all in the chat, have y'all ever scammed $500? Have y'all ever scammed $5,000? They scammed billions, and instead of focusing on the billions, they're saying Trump used the R word.
Disabilities to say that he's not going to vote with him on the redistricting vote in Indiana.
If you say, I'm not voting for you because you used a word I didn't like, then is that a racial slur? Hell, I don't know. Maybe you're too dumb to exist. So we got these people, these progressive people that don't have real life problems. Not really, they don't. They hear about problems and they put them on a scale. And they try to determine which of the problems that aren't theirs that they could be the most outraged for this week, that will be popular, that they can virtue signal over. I'm upset today about this thing that happened. Look what's happening in Venezuela. What is Trump doing to the boats? They moved on from Gaza and Ukraine. Russia's still bombing the shit out of Ukraine right now. They quiet. See what I'm saying? They got bored. They played with it a little while. Ooh, Ukraine, look. Ooh, look at Ukraine. Ooh, let's be upset. Let's be outraged.
So it says that they allegedly funds were transferred to the Al-Shabaab terror group is what they're alleging. And then also they're saying that they also were scamming the welfare program as well too. So it said that they basically they scammed millions of dollars from welfare in schemes. They also illegally transferred money to Somalia. They say some reportedly reached the terrorist group Al-Shabaab. And then they said no credible evidence implicates Ilhan Omar directly in participating in this. But I think they're up to, close to 70 people that they've already at least arrested. I don't know how many of them have been convicted yet. So this is an ongoing story.
Yeah, like a kid 2 days after Christmas. They ain't played with that shit 2 days. At 2 days, they're done with it. They just jump from.
You know, that's a good point. And there was a video, I don't know if I'm gonna play it today, but there was a video of one of the Somalis, and it wasn't, you know, it was a Somali on Somali rhetoric. And he was saying that, you know, hey, look, they come over here, and many Somalis, and it's not just the Somali community. I'm just talking about this because this is the topic. But he said many of them do have scams. They work together to scam, to give fraudulent paperwork, to do things like that. That's, you know what that, here comes that C word. Y'all know what C word I'm talking about. Culture. This is part of their culture. You know how they always like to say the black community this, the black community that, okay? So could we say the Somali community this, Somali community that? You can't generalize. Oh, we can't do what y'all do to FBAs. Oh, okay. And he says the U.S. provides substantial annual assistance to Somalia in the form of grants and aid, not new debt, committing over $1 billion annually in recent years for humanitarian, security, and development. Yeah, the thing is, there's a bunch of degenerates over in Somalia, a bunch of corrupt leaders who the money is not going to the people that it needs to go to. It's enriching people's pockets, just like they have here. They got corrupt politicians in Somalia. We got corrupt politicians here. So those billions of aids, a lot of times they're not even actually going to the Somalian people. They're going to sometimes American defense companies to say, look, we're helping them. We sent this big number, but they usually send it to some sort of NGO to say, hey, we sent this to some non-Somali, non-Black, non-African organization, and then we'll disperse that money. And the billions, they may disperse a couple crumbs, maybe a few thousand, and then they pocket billions, and then they just rinse, recycle, repeat, and say, look, we allocated all these billions. They just can't get their act together. But the whole point is for them to not get their act together. And if they did get their act together, they will work to destabilize them. So that's the trick, where they try to talk about, oh, this community is that, this community is depraved. Okay, well, this community wants to stop being depraved, and this community wants to stop being degenerate. They don't want to be impoverished anymore. They want to uplift themselves. They want to provide jobs. They want to get better education. When you start talking like that in terms of nation building, in terms of empowerment, what do? They work to sabotage you. So my thing is, we need people to crash out. We need people to wear their bigotry on their sleeve. We need to have people stop acting like they're so benevolent and they want to help the Somalis because they sent $1 billion over. They sent billions of dollars over that is not going to the rank and file proletariat people. It's going to the corrupt leaders at the top, and the money is given to them so that they don't fix anything, so that nothing doesn't change, so that Trump can say, look, man, it's not even a country, it's corrupt. Yeah, it is corrupt, but it's no more corrupt than the US is.
Gaslit moment to gaslit moment. They don't really have problems, so they live vicariously through the problems of others. And they will build a mountain out of a molehill, folks.
And this is my issue with people like Ilhan Omar. Fascism watch says debt accumulated under the dictatorship in Somalia. Okay, so if there's a dictatorship in Somalia that makes you want to flee, when Ilhan Omar comes over here, she speaks Somalia in glowing terms. She's not talking about the dictatorship. They'll say, I had to flee, so now I got to come over here in America and get it popping. And that's all it is. They're just trying to extract resources from America, but many of them are not trying to fix up Somalia. They're not even, how could you fix up a dictatorship in Somalia when you won't even mention it? Who will have the loudest microphone? See, Ilhan Omar will call Trump a fascist till she's blue or red in the face. Have you ever heard her call the Somali leadership fascistic? Has she called it a dictatorship? Has she even called it corrupt? No, she's always speaking of it in glowing terms when she know everything is not flip-flops and sandals over there. That's why she had to flee here. She's saying it's civil war and all this other stuff. So why won't you talk about who is facilitating that civil war? Instead, what is she worried about? Nonsense.
What I'm saying is, if you can decide not to rock with a particular politician, not to support them, if either you don't have a problem in your life, right? If you can make that choice based on something that's...
And this is disgusting because many people, where are people calling out Bill Clinton and the Clintons in general? They hope to stabilize Haiti, and now they want to talk about, oh, look at barbecue. And then you got goofy niggas like Kodak Black. Kodak Black is Haitian. Kodak Black is Haitian. He'll fly a Haitian flag and then says that he doesn't want to go to Haiti. He doesn't like dark-skinned women. And this is Kodak Black, a Haitian person saying they eat people over there. Okay, nigga, you supposed to be hard body gang, nigga. Go over there and shoot it out with barbecue. You feel me? But he won't even talk about the destabilizing. He won't talk about the U.S. doing anything over there. So this is what I'm saying. People that are in prominent positions, whether they're celebrities, whether political figures, they'll always talk about irrelevant BS, but they won't talk about what's going on in their homeland. How are you going to fly a Haitian flag and say, you know, my culture is so superior, but you're not working to help preserve that beautiful culture of the people that's in that homeland? I can't respect that. I just simply can't.
Frivolous is the word they said about somebody they don't like. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because America rock with the kid.
And that's the thing. Nobody really knows he's Haitian because he's selectively Haitian. You know, when people were trying to say, hey, they have a superior culture to FBAs, then he was Haitian. But then when people start asking them questions about, you know, the destabilizing of Haiti, then he was denigrating Haiti. He said y'all can look this up. He said he didn't want to go over there because they eat people. Kodak Black doesn't like dark-skinned women. And the other thing, too, when Kodak Black does, because Kodak Black has been a jailbird, in and out of jail, doing all sorts of degenerate behavior, all sorts of knucklehead crimes. When he gets locked up, that's Black culture. Isn't he Haitian? Or is that Haitian culture? No, you're being divisive. You have to call him Black. You have to call him African American. He's Haitian, though. Why can't I call him Haitian? So it kind of goes back and forth where people, you know, if he wins an award, it's like he was the first Haitian to win this award. And he does a drive-by. See, it's the Blacks. You know what I mean? And people are just getting tired of that stuff. But people like Kodak Black, anyone that's not willing to represent for your lineage and your homeland, I just simply can't respect you. He has a mega microphone. He has mega millions, and he doesn't even want to go back to the homeland that he's flying a flag for. He can use his microphone. Look, I'm not expecting this dude. He's always zonked out of his mind, leaning on all sorts of, you know, a cocktail of drugs. He has enough money to get some astute scholars around and talk about the destabilizing of Haiti and how the U.S. and the West specifically is constantly meddling over there. You can't say Haiti is a failure, but you're working to help destabilize. If they're such a failure, let them fail. But they're failing because you are facilitating their failure. You are aiding and abetting in people who want to see them decimated and destroyed. You can't just call them a failure without talking about your part in their destabilizing the country. And that's very cowardly that people don't want to speak up. They'll always speak up. What about Black on Black crime, fatherless homes, and all this stuff, the gender war, this and this, that, bruh. There's bigger fish to fry, especially in your homeland that you don't want to go back to. Let's say that a bunch of FBAs want to go travel to Jamaica and Jamaicans can't even access their beach, but guess who can? A bunch of Asians that's smacking them around, a bunch of white and non-Black people can access their beautiful beaches, and the Jamaicans, yeah, man, that's born in the soil, their blood, sweat, and tears in the soil. They can't access their beach, but you're flying the flag, a flag to a place that you don't want to go back to and that you don't want to help build. Imagine me saying, yeah, man, East Oakland, get East Oakland tatted on my chest, but I don't give a damn about East Oakland because I'm living in Wyoming. Why am I even screaming East Oakland? Why did I get that tat? Why I'm saying I'm so Oakland, man. You know what I mean? You feel me? No, bro, I don't feel you.
They was drug dealers. This is a country that had kids losing their arms in factories. 8, 9, 10-year-old kids working in factories, losing arms and legs and shit. A country where white men, and they tried to form a union, they got beat to death with baseball bats.
And it's not the issue that he's never been there. It's the issue that he's denigrating his homeland. There are some solid people in Haiti and from Haiti. So it's disgusting, detestable, and deplorable for him to talk about they eat people over there. Okay? Like, where's the proof? Who told him that they eat people over there, right? I mean, they're eating the pets. They're eating the dogs, right? How is that any different? But here you got a Haitian saying it. He ain't talking about pets. He ain't talking about dogs. He's talking about humans. And not only that, his self-hate, talking about he don't like dark-skinned women. The dude is so dark. I think he got a song called Gremlin. He looks like a gremlin. He looks like a gremlin. This dude is, he's like that dude on How to Be a Menace. I hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck. I hate Wesley Snipes because he's black. I hate my black ass gums. Like, he hates anything dark. You know what I mean? But he's just a midnight creature. You know what I mean? So Kodak Black, he does have some slaps, but you got to be able to compartmentalize, separate the music from the man. In terms of the man, Kodak Black is giving Raccoon Tether vibes.
The white guys. So you know what they was doing to the blacks. So let's stop pretending that America's like this, this mythical thing. Oh, no.
They mourn for the loss of this National Guard member, but they do not believe you should use it to turn away 24 million people who are already in this country.
Gaslighting. You should have vetted them to begin with.
Legato cinematic strings. Ooh, hold on.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah.
The president has a unique ability to take us to the lowest common denominator all the time. And I must tell you, for him to attack people with disabilities.
Hold on a second here. Trump isn't taking us to the lowest common denominator. Media is. Man, if they weren't making money off this shit, do you think we'd be hearing about it? Media is the one that latches onto these problems, latches on to these words. If a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it fall, who gives a shit? And they can treat Trump's tweets and Trump saying someone's a retard or whatever. He could treat it like nothing and not be.
There's this other thing too. Now, apparently, did y'all know the R word? When people say the R word, people are like, what are you talking about? Racism? No. You know what the R word is? Retard. Apparently, that's a slur now. And calling someone a retard, well, that's the same as calling someone a nigger. Like, okay, show me people that got like, here, we're going to redline these retards. Here, we're going to lynch these retards. Let's mass incarcerate these retards. When there was a war on drugs, which was the war on blacks, did they call it the war on retards? I'm just saying, like, when did that become a slur? So if you can't say retard, could you say moron, idiot, imbecile, doofus?
Report on it, but you can't walk away from the casino. You need to leave. You're a degenerate, but you gotta bet on the horse. This could be my big shot.
And this is the hypocrisy. Like I said, Trump is a bigot. Trump is a racist. But Trump is less of a bigot and less of a racist than Biden. So when he said, why is the media so focused on Trump's bad words? This is what they call gaslighting, virtual signaling. They're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill and try to say, look, we should really be concerned because where are we going as a country if the president's calling people retards? Well, if that's how he feels, let him get it off his chest. I'd rather him say it So we know what type of character he has, then try to act like he's just this good old boy and sweet, polite society member. No, Trump has always been like this. He's an a-hole. Why should he change? Because he got the presidency. This is what this country was built on. This country wasn't built on nice language and hugging each other, saying we are the world, we are the people. That's not what this country was founded on. So I really don't give a flying flip about Trump's word. If Trump looked in the camera and said, you know what, I'm tired of these FBA niggers begging, so I'm going to give them reparation. So you stupid niggers stop begging. I'll be like, okay, cut the check. Others would be like, he called us the N-word. Yeah, and he also cut the check. So I really don't care about his bad words. You can call me all the slurs in the book after you cut that check.
I can win it all back. That's the media 24/7, 365, fam. That's the real deal. But see, Shapiro, or Timu Obama, he's called,
by using that slur is highly offensive, given how here in Pennsylvania, we treat people with all different abilities with the same level of respect.
Gaslighting. He says slur. Man, I know some slurs. I know a few slurs people use. Shapiro's Jewish, and they bombed the shit out of his governor's mansion, and they wrote slurs. Did they write retard on the wall? Not a slur, dum-dum. Not a slur. Just a word like asshole. Liberals, they made everything third rail. Everything's third rail if it makes someone feel bad.
And this is why I said Biden is way more racist. See, people fixate on what Trump says. I focus on what Biden did. Remember, Biden said, you ain't black if you don't vote for me. So imagine if he said, you ain't Jewish if you don't vote for me. They would have called that anti-Semitic. They would have galvanized against him to say, don't vote for him. Imagine if he said, you ain't Asian if you don't vote for me. But then when he said, you ain't black if you don't vote for me, you had a bunch of broken boule members and people saying, having this Trump derangement syndrome. Well, Trump don't like y'all and Biden don't either. It's the whole lesser of two evils thing. Imagine someone saying, here's a double-decker shit sandwich and here's some vomit soup with flies on the side. Which one is better? Which one is the lesser of the two disgusting options? But then look, there's always another option. You can choose salad. And they're like, no, you can't choose that. You have to choose one of those options. Do you want the vomit soup or do you want the super duper shit sandwich? It's like, nah, I'd rather just have a salad. But that's not the option. Do you want the super duper? It's like, nah, bro, the lesser of two evils. Evil is not an option for me. So when they say the lesser of two evils, guess what the operative word is? Not lesser, it's evil. So you're still choosing evil. Imagine someone talking about the lesser of two rapes. This dude only raped a girl 50 times versus the other dude that raped her 56 times. This is the lesser of two rapists. You'd be like, huh? That logic wouldn't hold. So why are you trying to make that logic hold with the lesser of two evils in terms of voting? I don't vote for evil, right? Aren't we a Christian nation? So aren't we supposed to be good? Isn't good supposed to defeat evil, not vote, collaborate, and collude with evil? What are we talking about here? And not only that, Biden, his son, was a kooky crackhead. Biden, who signed Biden's law, and it was him and Clinton for not only one, Biden did two crime bills. I think it was an 88 crime bill and then the 94 crime bill. And they made that disparity where if you had a fingernail of crack, they'll give you football numbers, 5, 20 years, sometimes life. Bill Clinton with the 3 strikes law. You get 3 strikes, we'll lock you up for life. This whole tough on crime policy, those were the Democrats. So now they're trying to say Trump wants to lock black people up and he's targeting black people. Is he targeting black people more than the Democrats were? See, because this isn't about right or left. This is about white supremacy, W supremacy, anti-blackness. That's what it's always been about. That's why every person, not just black people, but every person should be registered as an independent. You should make these politicians buy and compete for your vote. Don't just blindly give them a vote because, remember they used to say, Uncle Joe Biden, who ain't my damn uncle, he's the type that you would want to sit down and have a beer with. Okay, that's not true. But even if it was true, because you want to have a beer with somebody, then you should want to vote them for president? No, man. Get the flip out of here. But I'm going to play a little bit more of this video and then I'm going to transition. Actually, let me fast forward a little bit slightly. And we back at it.
You're going to find out words are good. Words are better than bullets. All of this shit, folks, was about the Somalis. The Somalis, the Salamis. They stole a lot of money, folks. Listen to this clip as we find out. This is what the focus was.
Yeah, well, y'all know my saying, all slurs matter. I don't consider retard a slur, but if it is a slur and people say, hey, well, y'all, it's just a word. When people say, Black people get triggered over the N-word, whether it's nigga or nigger, y'all get triggered. Why are y'all getting triggered over the R word, right? Why are you getting triggered over the B word? If you're a Jewish person, why are you getting triggered over the K word, right? It's just a word.
It's supposed to be about.
For the last 10 years, Minnesota's Somali community, it's about 100,000 people, mostly in Minneapolis, a neighborhood called Little Mogadishu, for obvious reasons, has been conducting fraud at an iPod.
Okay, so did y'all hear that? So when we're talking about delineation, people will try to say, hey, FBAs are being divisive, but no, we are late to the delineation party. So Mogadishu is in Somalia. Mogadishu is not in America. But what did he say? They came over here and it's enough Somalis that they want to make a little Mogadishu. That's fine. But you know what that is? That's separation, that's division, and that's delineation. Why are they not making a little Africa town? Why are they not making a little people of color town? Why are they not making a little black town, a little freedman town? No, they're making a little Mogadishu. You know what that's called? That's called being a transplant. You're moving to a different place, but you're trying to transplant your culture, your values, your heritage to this new place. Hey, that's fine. But when we say that we want to make a freedman town, then they try to say, oh, that's reverse racism. So how are y'all making a little Mogadishu, right? Why is there a Chinatown? Why is there a Japantown, a Koreatown, a little Haiti, a little Senegal? Right? If we're all black, why do you need to separate? When many of these people come over here, do you know the Africans and Caribbeans, they don't go to church with us. The majority of them don't. Some do, but the majority don't. If we're all Christian, why do you need to go to a Nigerian Christian church, right? So many of the Africans, they rather start their own African church or they'd rather go with the W people to their church. I'm not making this up. People know it, but they just get uncomfortable when they hear people saying it out loud. But this is not a mystery. This has been going on for decades. It's just people weren't saying it.
Upping scale. I mean, truly extraordinary. We're talking about billions of dollars, billions with a B, that are getting sucked out of taxpayer programs, routed through various fake NGOs, into the pockets of Somalis in Minnesota, flying this cash to Mogadishu, where it's dispersed through a network of informal money chains.
So the majority of U.S. airstrikes, they have a high civilian casualty rate, depending on the numbers you look at. Some say 80 to 90% civilian casualty rate. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with U.S. imperialism, us going around trying to be the world's police, the world's bully, and then wag our finger and say, you guys are just failing. If they're failing, then just let them fail. Or if you're going to help them flourish. You can't let them fail because you're destabilizing them, you're colluding, you're doing all this regime change and coup, and then say, well, they're just like that. So, okay, let's just say that that's true, that they're just like that. They're just failures. But aren't you just genocidal maniacs? You're just like that for dropping drones on civilians, for dropping drones on women and children. That is degenerate. That is disgusting. That is barbaric and heinous culture, right? There's that C word again. That's your culture. You have a culture of being a maniac.
Rangers, the Al-Shabaab terrorists take a cut. And it's like every government program imaginable, they're setting up these front organizations, autism, social services, feeding the hungry, and they're pulling in, tens of millions, if now not hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
And no one understands this more than FBA. Migrants do come from countries that are suffering from U.S. imperialism. We have been the only group in terms of being at the forefront, standing up for this. The problem is when these people come overseas, this is the issue. We'll say, oh, look, man, they're suffering from U.S. imperialism in their hometown, in their homeland. We're suffering from it here in the belly of the beast. But when they come over here, they don't align with us. They don't say, man, these FBAs, we've been suffering from U.S. imperialism abroad. They've been dealing with it in the belly of the beast, man. We should try to unite with them. They don't do that. They come over here and say, we were just suffering from U.S. imperialism and we're going to unite with the W people. Oh, the people that were bombing you. So then that's when people say, all right, well, just hold your own nuts then. And then they start talking about how they're the model minorities, we're lazy, and they work so much harder. Then we say, okay, fine. Why didn't you work hard in your homeland? And if you work so much harder, then work and get out of this sticky situation that Trump has you in. So being non-sympathetic, it begets the same sentiments. And most migrants, right? There are some rioters, but from what my experience is, most of them do not come over here to stand in solidarity with us. They come to get more of their family members over here. They come to be transplanted. When they come over here, none of them say that they're coming over here to smash the patriarchy, right? They don't say that they're coming over here, and I don't even agree with that, but I'm just throwing that out there. They're not coming over here saying they're trying to end capitalism, smash the patriarchy, and uplift all marginalized groups. They come over here and they're focused on their specific community. When Filipinos come over here, they're not trying to uplift the Asian community. They're trying to get more Filipinos to come over here. When Chinese people come over here, they're trying to get more Chinese people to come over here. That's why they have Chinatown. It's not Asia Town. It's not people of color town. In Chinatown, they don't want Japanese people infringing on that. And they said, go make your own Japantown. But when we say, you know what, hey, look, we don't want Somalis infringing on this. Go make it fine. You want to go do little Mogadishu? Go do it over there. You know what I mean? But then that means don't try to undermine us when we try to make a freedman town. And the thing is, many of these migrants, they're allowed to double dip. So they'll say, I'm Black, I'm African American. And then they turn around and say, I'm a refugee and I was fleeing violence. So they get access to benefits that we don't get. And then they also get access to benefits that are supposed to be us. And many times they're prioritized over us specifically because they want to work to undermine us. This has been going on for decades. Many people act like they don't know. If you don't know, just read a darn book. Or if you need some studying material, hey, I can provide you with that. Or you can use AI. AI is your friend. You don't have to take my word for it. You believe AI is much more astute than me. So fact check me on what I'm saying.
Minnesota state government, autism, social services, feeding the hungry, and they're pulling to Mogadishu dollars, billions with a B, that are getting sucked out of taxpayer programs, routed through various fake NGOs into the pockets of Somalis in Minnesota, flying this cash to Mogadishu, where it's dispersed through a network of informal money changers. The Al-Shabaab terrorists take a cut. And it's like every government program imaginable, they're setting up these front organizations, autism, social services, feeding the hungry, and they're pulling in, tens of millions, if now not hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Minnesota state government, the Democrats who are in charge, Tim Walz and others, have effectively turned a blind eye to this because they don't want to offend the Somalis. They don't want to, earn the accusation of racism, what the Somali activists are very ready and very eager to deploy. And they feel that they need the Somali vote in Minneapolis to win statewide. This should be an obvious one, right? You can't steal billions of dollars from taxpayers. That's like a no.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be about. Meanwhile, everybody got sidetracked on Trump call.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and transition into the next one, but y'all get the picture. What I'm saying is, let me pull up this comment. He says Somalia suffer from this. I do believe Somalia will suffer from this because Trump already banned immigration from third world countries, and now people will see what it's like to be an FBA, where a few people do it. Right, there's thousands of Somalis, and so far, they've only arrested, let's say, close to 70 people. Maybe there will be more, but probably about 100 people, right? That's the minority of the group. But this minority, what do they say? One bad apple spoils the bunch. Well, this is a lot more than one bad apple. So this is multiple bad apples spoiling the bunch. And I'm not advocating for the generalization of people, but this should be a wake-up call for people. This should be a Somali wake-up call. This should be an immigrant, refugee, migrant wake-up call. All the stuff that they are doing to you guys that you're crying for and wanting us to have a bleeding heart, they've done it to us already, and they're continuously doing it to us. But when they do it to us, they say, stop complaining, stop acting like a victim. So if I tell the Somalis to stop complaining, stop acting like a victim, pull yourself up by your emotional bootstraps, I'm being insensitive. But when we're going through stuff, we're a victim. And you need to stop complaining. But when other people are going through stuff, no, they're legitimate victims because of U.S. imperialism, and you have to have a bleeding heart for them, even though they don't have one for you. Nah, bruh, those days are over. Y'all know. 'Tis the season to hold your own nuts. Hey, deal with y'all issues over there. We got too many pressing issues over here. Plus, y'all said we're just the low IQ thuggish monkeys anyways. So nothing we can really do to help y'all. So I'm going to transition into this other video, and this is going to be from a reaction from the Honorable Tariq Nasheed, and he is on here debating or having a discussion with this Karen who has some delusions of DEI or affirmative action. So she's afraid that her kids are not going to have an opportunity to thrive in America, because of DEI, even though that's just one of the lowest forms of gaslighting. Affirmative action. Guess who the most primary benefits were? White women. DEI. Guess who the most primary benefits were? White women. Guess who they painted the face of it? Black people. And then, especially DEI, we were at the bottom of the list. So at the top, it was white women. Then on top of that, it was like white gay men. Then it was white trans men. Then it was every other person of color, if you were disabled, Native American. And guess who was at the bottom? Black people. Did you know black people represented less than 5%? Let me say that one more again. Less than 5% of all DEI benefits and positions. But when you have the discussion, it's 100% of black pilots this and black this, and these are supposed to be the high IQs. How don't they have this information? So either they do have this information, they're omitting it from you, which when they're being sinister and disingenuous, or they don't have this information, which means their IQ is not as high as it purports to be. But let me go ahead and get ready to pull this video up. This will be my final reaction video for the night, and then I will probably hit y'all with something else tomorrow, you know what I mean? So let's hit it up. This video is titled Karen Plays the Victim Over DEI Delusion. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this about 13 minutes in or so. Let's commence.
Scholarships and such, it should be fair.
Yeah, we stopped all of that acting like we're guests in our own homeland. We said, wait a minute, we're not guests here. This is ours. That's when everybody started getting shook. Because they're like, oh, damn, they're waking up. Miss Jen. Hello, Jen. I'm good, Jen. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Listen, what city are you in, by the way, Jen?
I'm sorry?
What city are you in, ma'am?
I am in West Creek, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is on your mind, Miss Jen?
So, I was listening to you talk and I was listening to all of this, and I understand how things should be fair, and I understand how things should be wonderful in this country that we have. However, I'm a single mother, and I've had my kids tutored.
Should we generalize her as a baby mama, as a thought? Because, if it's a black single mom, there's all sorts of stereotypes and tropes. And not only that, she's a single mother, which means she's a baby mama, right? And it's not her baby daddy ain't black. Is this a cultural issue?
Many years now. And my concern is that, when they go to get into colleges, their colleges are going to be, in terms of scholarships and such, it's going to be a little bit different for my boys.
How so?
I think that a lot of it's been, hey, are you, American? Are you, what's your nationality? What's this, what's that, whatever. I've been dating a guy that's Hispanic, and I might get married to him. And the thing is, I do believe in my heart that my situation with my kids, going into college, is different than his. With his kids.
Okay.
And I just, it's gonna
Damn, just get to the point. She's just kind of mayo babbling.
be harder for my kids. I know it is.
So do you think, because your kids are white, that your kids are going to be at a disadvantage because a non-white kid is going to be prioritized? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes and no. I think my kids.
And this is what you call W victimhood. So she's over here saying that her kids are the best, they're so smart, but she's worried that they may not get into schools because they may be other minority or marginalized or less deserving groups may be prioritized over her people. So let's just do this on the flip side. There's a bunch of black people who say they think about man, we're at the bottom of society, man. I think that even if I have good grades, I may not be getting in because due to these stereotypes, racial biases, and all this stuff. It's people will say, stop complaining. You can do anything you set your mind to, right? You're not a victim, but here you have this Kooky Karen crying, talking about her lily white, and she has white males, sons. She's saying that she has concerns about their future in education, but she said they're so smart. She's talking about how they have this naturally high IQ. Your kids will be good. What the hell are you scared about? And then if this Kooky Karen is worried about her kids, what should black people feel about their kids? Should they be scared about the direction that the education system is going, that the government system is going? The government is not taking out a bunch of W history. Anything that has the word black in it, anything that has the word African, Negro, freedman, Trump and his minions are taking it out to rewrite history, to try to make it seem like, look, we're a nation of immigrants and everyone just immigrated here. You know what I mean? But no, they're trying to erase slavery. They're trying to erase Jim Crow and all of this stuff and say, hey, it wasn't that bad. And then if it was that bad, so what? We treated other groups bad. And look, they're doing fine. They're not complaining. And then here you got the people with the most privilege in the social hierarchy. They got the most prestige, and they're still whining, still complaining. Their privilege is not enough. Victimhood is in many of their veins.
Will do extremely well in their tests, and the thing is, like, I do believe in my heart that, like, my situation with my kids, like going into college, is different than his, with his kids.
Okay.
And I just, it's going to be harder for my kids. I know it is.
So do you think, because your kids are white, that your kids...
And this is that whole meritocracy myth. These people don't believe in meritocracy. I know Tariq had a debate. Oh, actually, it was Jason Black. He had a debate with Jared Taylor, you know, one of the foremost white supremacists. And once he tried to basically get him to hone in on the point of meritocracy, he said, well, who wants to give up power? So he admitted that it's not about meritocracy, it's about power. It's about power and nepotism. When you look at Trump and all of these people hiring their sons, you think their sons are the best for the job? What do they say? Asians have such a higher IQ, so wouldn't an Asian person be better for the job? No. My son, Barron Trump, will be best for the job. That's not meritocracy. That is what you call nepotism. Same thing with legacy admissions. Did you know over 40% of Harvard students are legacy admissions? And of that 40% that are legacy admissions, at least 80 plus, close to 90% of white. What is legacy about? I mean, what is meritocratic about a legacy admission? So your dad went to the school and donated a bunch of millions to the athletic booster, so now you get in Harvard because of that? That's not meritocratic. That's not pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Is going to be at a disadvantage because a non-white kid is going to be prioritized. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes and no. I think my kids will do extremely well in their tests, and there's no doubt in my mind my kids might surpass them. But what if that happens, right? Because my kids are, one of my kids is blonde hair and blue eyed. One of my kids is brown haired and brown eyed. So if they're better than the kids that they're, you know, competing against.
With AI, you can create
any character you want.
Real life,
fantasy, sci-fi,
even animation.
What is the school going to do? If they're just naturally smarter, if they just have everything over the other kids, what are they?
Did y'all hear what she said? If they're just naturally smarter, if they have everything over the other kids. So she didn't say if they have some things over the other kids. She said everything. Then she also said, well, one of my kids has blonde hair and blue eyes. What does that matter? When we're talking about meritocracy, is it meritocracy for people with blonde hair and blue eyes, or is it meritocracy for the best person for the job, the most capable, the most skilled for the job? Why are you mentioning blonde hair and blue eyes? Then she said they're naturally better. Now she's getting into the IQ, the inherent genetics and things like that, right? So what would make her kid naturally better? No kid is just born naturally better. You think Asians are just born smart? So on one hand, they'll act like, well, Asians are just born like that because it's their culture. So that means that they're not born like that, right? There's meticulous actions to cultivate that, right? Culture, cultivate. They weren't born like that. There's nothing inherent to them. And then when you talk about Asians and then they try to paint these Asians as the model minority, what Asians are you talking about? Or you go ask a Chinese person to say, hey, you're Asian and Cambodians are Asian. So you're both smart and you're on the same level and your IQs are on the same level. You think a Chinese scholar is going to accept that? If you go to a Korean person and say, hey, you guys have the same IQ as people in Thailand, do you think they're going to accept that? So when she's saying that her kids are naturally smart, like compared to who, right? Take the blacks out, right? Because we're these alleged low IQ thuggish monkeys, right? But that's not what y'all said about the Asians. The Asians are the model minorities, right? Y'all were calling them whiz kids, saying how smart they are, right? So by that logic, what the hell is she talking about that her kid is going to be naturally smarter? Most of these white people, they don't send their kids to predominantly black schools. They go with a bunch of whites and Asians, and the Asians are outperforming the white people. So what is she scared of? Maybe she's scared that that blonde hair and blue eyes doesn't hold the same weight that it used to. But that's as meritocratic as it gets. If her kids are the best, they're going to overcome whatever obstacle and make it to the top. But she sounds like she's scared. And she's trying to say, well, what if they're better? Yeah, this is a hypothetical. What if they're not better? What if they're going to school with a bunch of Asian kids that's blowing them out the water intellectually? Then what? Does she still believe in meritocracy then? See, they only bring up that stuff when they're talking about us. You notice they only bring up high IQs in sub-Saharan Africa to try to stick it to the blacks, right? But okay, cool. And I'm being facetious, right? But let's just concede the point that, we got these tiny Negro brains, but that's not what y'all said about the Asian. Why won't y'all bend the knee intellectually to the Asian? Why won't y'all say that they're much smarter than y'all? Why won't y'all say that their culture is superior than y'all? And actually, why won't we, for our next president, why won't it be an Asian president? How about the next few presidents be Asian, since their culture is so superior, since they're so dang smart? They're whiz kids, right? So which one is it? Asians are model minorities, perfect culture, docile, feminine, they don't cause any trouble. Hey, that sounds like great qualities until you say they should be president. Well, they're not really American, but you said that they were, right? You said that they built the railroads, right? They built the railroads, allegedly. They have the highest IQs, allegedly. They work so hard, allegedly. Why can't they be president? Why can't they lead the nation?
Gonna do.
Well, what do you think they're going to do? What do you think they're going to do?
You know what? That's why I'm asking the question. I don't know.
They're going to be fine. As white kids, they're going to.
She's saying that's why she's asking the question, but you're asking the question to Tariq, someone that doesn't even live in your state, someone that is not a teacher, not on the school board. Go ask the teachers. Like, she's creating a straw man and this delusion of, some grotesque situation that never even happened. But we've been joined by none other than Stan, the man, Broseph, not Joseph, Broseph, in building.
Be fine. Even if they don't do good, they're going to be fine. Even if they fail, they're going to be fine. Studies have shown that white people who drop out of school are faring much better than black people who are college educated, ma'am. Those white children are going to be fine. I got to introduce you to my brother, Ann.
And that is stats that say, on average, a W college dropout will fare better than a black college graduate. That's not I thought we lived in a meritocratic society. So someone that did it the right way and gets a degree has a lesser chance of getting hired than a W high school dropout. How is that meritocracy?
Got Jen in here, Dan. What's up, brother?
This is Caucasian victimhood at its finest, man.
No, I don't think it is because
Hold on, I
I'm
didn't
dating
interrupt
a
you.
Spanish guy.
Congratulations.
I don't think
Congratulations.
it's that way.
I'm
I
sure
really
Taco
don't.
Tuesday is amazing. Listen, 40% of students accepted.
And you're absolutely right. But see, this is why I don't give a flying flip, because many Asians, they don't just, and of course, this is not all, but I say many and I say a significant amount. They don't just butt kiss, they firmly grip two cheeks, spread the cheeks apart, and they lick up and down and all around. They don't just butt kiss, they crack lick. And then guess who created Yellow Peril? It wasn't FBA's. Who created the Chinese Exclusion Act? It wasn't FBA's. Who dropped an atomic bomb? It wasn't FBA's. And then when they come over, they excuse all of the W slapping them around to say, it's the blacks in the culture. Remember, Muhammad Ali said, "Hey, look, I ain't going to Vietnam, man. They never called me no niggas, right?" And then guess what happened? The people from Vietnam, when they were able to immigrate over here, they start calling us niggas. Show me the equivalent of a Vietnamese public figure standing up for black people like Muhammad Ali, who's not a politician. He was an athlete, the greatest boxer of all time. He lost a lot of endorsements. He lost a lot of money. He had death threats for him. Show me one Vietnamese person standing up for black people like that. No, what happened is the Vietnamese people came over here and they worked to undermine black people. Why the hell is the Vietnamese and Korean people monopolizing black hair industry? When black people try to get in and say, look, man, we know y'all been eating off the black hair care industry, y'all could do y'all thing, but just cut us in. They be like, no, nigger. Hey, don't take my word for it. They have documentaries how the alphabet agencies actually worked with Vietnamese and other Asian people to push black people out of the black hair care industry and buffer up Asians. Now, y'all sisters, y'all need to collaborate with each other. Don't collaborate with some of them disgusting Africans. And I'm not talking about all. I'm talking about the ones that kidnapped that sister. You know what I mean? But y'all need to collaborate with whoever. Collaborate with Africans, collaborate with Caribbeans, FBAs, and melanated people so that you don't go to these other communities. If you can't get hired there, you shouldn't be buying there. If you can't get hired there, you shouldn't be buying there, right? And a lot of times, like, what are you spending all this money for anyways? You know what I mean? You overspending on money to try to look good for who? If your man already accepts you as you are, many of y'all men would like y'all to go natural. But you are not trying to go natural because you're trying to impress somebody else. But while you're trying to impress someone else that don't like you, you're enriching another community. And then you want to talk about the community needs to do this, the community needs to do that. No, how about you do your own nails? You don't need those long Freddy Krueger nails every chance you can get. When a dude is trying to make some love to you, he ain't just saying, look, man, the reason why I got down on bended knee or the reason why I want to get into that tight, ooey, gooey, slippery box was because of your nails. No, that's not happening. So when you're getting all these nails and doing all this stuff, who are you truly doing it for? Don't act like you're doing it for a man. And then if you want to say, real ass bitch, give a fuck about a nigga. Okay, well then when that nigga don't give a fuck about you, what are you complaining about?
Into universities are white. If your children are the top of that top, they should have no problem. Now, if there's something else you would like to say about this situation, just be honest about it. Because truth to be told, your children got bigger issues to face. Like, I listen to y'all Caucasians come on here and y'all whine about shit that don't even matter to me.
Man, many of these white dudes are absolutely pathetic. Especially they'll be like, we need more white babies. And then they turn around and then they try to get with the first Chung-Li, the first Mai Ling that they can see, the first Betty Yamamoto that they could see. And then they try to say, okay, I'm not race mixing. So are you saying that Asian is the same race as you? No, no, it's different. So you are race mixing. Oh, okay, well, I am race mixing, but this is different. But you were just railing against race mixing. Oh, you meant no race mixing with the blacks.
I think y'all culture needs to be examined. I mean, the women don't
I'm
like the
gonna
men.
agree with you.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
gonna
I'm saying,
agree
look,
with
look,
you.
even you right now, right? You as a Caucasian
Yeah.
woman, you are not with a Caucasian man. Most Caucasian women aren't with Caucasian men.
No,
Women-
he says
Brother Dan be cooking, but I will have to disagree. Most Caucasian women are with Caucasian men, but I do believe that the number is declining. But yeah, statistically, I haven't seen a statistic to show that most Caucasian women are not with Caucasian men.
Hispanic. I'm with a Hispanic man.
And not only that, man, she keeps emphasizing Hispanic. And, you know, I don't know how many times we have to do this. Hispanic is not a race. Latino is not a race. Jewish is not a race. Saying that you're Mexican and Puerto Rican is not a race. For sometimes people like to try to get with the Hispanic person and think that they're getting with someone other than white, but there are black Hispanics, there's Asian Hispanics, and there's also white Hispanics. But they try to make Hispanic and Latino like this nebulous ethnic group that kind of cosplays as a race. But no, it's not really a race, but we're act like it is a race. But no, it's not really a race. Okay. And then when we tell you it's not a race and they say, I'm Hispanic. Yeah, you're white. I'm Hispanic. Yeah, but your race is white. I'm Hispanic. And they just repeat it like that. Just like someone saying that they're Jewish. But there's white Jewish people and there's people who's not white and Jewish. So when you just say that I'm Jewish, yeah, but what is your race? I'm Jewish. Yeah, but what is your race? And then they'll say, well, my race is Jewish. Okay, cool. When I look at the US Census, it doesn't say Jewish anywhere. It doesn't say Hindu anywhere. It doesn't say Christian anywhere. So once again, what is your race? And this is where people like to try to jump in and out. Especially with some Hispanic people, they'll check that white box and then they get around you and say, hey, I'm a person of color. That's why I'm saying nigga, because I grew up around the blacks and I'm Hispanic. No, you're just a white dude who speaks Spanish who's saying nigga because you allegedly grew up around blacks. When you see Fat Joe, is Fat Joe brown? Where's the brown on Fat Joe? We need to have a black and brown community. Okay, but Fat Joe is not brown, though. What race is Fat Joe? He's clearly not Asian. He's clearly not black. So once again, what race is Fat Joe? Fat Joe is Hispanic. Fat Joe is Caribbean. Caribbean is not a race. Puerto Rican is not a race. So once again, what race are most Hispanics? In America, they identify as white. And now there's this new phenomenon where people are trying to say, no, look, we've always identified as white, but now we don't want to identify as white no more. We're Hispanic. So now a lot of them are saying that they're mixed and multiracial, but then when you call them mixed, they get mad. So this is where people are just saying, look, man, we're drawing a line in the sand. Stop tethering. We're FBA, B1, we're black first, but we're also BA. We're black always, you know what I mean? So you got some people where they get around the niggas and they turn black. They get around the amigos, they turn Hispanic. They get around the whites and they say, I'm mixed. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bruh.
I just said that. We agree on that, right? I'm just saying, I think there's a bigger problem than y'all coming in here whining to us about your children who are typically accepted at a 40% rate. That's higher than everybody else, by the way. I don't understand what the complaint is unless you don't expect them to win and your built-in excuse is it's because you know your skin color. Because truth to be told, if they're in extracurricular activity, they'll actually be recruited. I mean, listen, they was recruiting me to go to college when I was in 7th grade. So, and that's not because of my skin color, because I had the highest test scores. It doesn't matter.
All right, well, thank you for providing this. I'm gonna have to check this person out. He's probably the only person because, like I said, people always talk about the black community having an accountability problem, but you got a bunch of tethers, sambos constantly calling out the black community. If people are trying to say 1350, which is a lie, but let's just go with that, right? If we're allegedly being locked up at a disproportionate rate, isn't that accountability? What do they say? You do the crime, you do the time. They don't say you do the crime and you do a podcast, right? You do the crime, you do the time. If black people are disproportionately doing the time, how is that not accountability? If black people are the only ones talking about black on black crime, how is that not accountability? Show me the Asians talking about Asian on Asian crime. Show me the Jewish people talking about those Jewish pedo crimes. Show me the whites talking about white on white crime. When Charlie Kirk got off, white on white crime wasn't mentioned. They start bringing up the Democrats. Okay, cool. Most Democrats are white. Most Congress is white. Most of the CEOs are white. Most of the military, white. Most of the cops, white. Most of the fire department, white. But then these are all the power brokers, the power positions and institutions. But when you talk about that demographic, you don't want to talk about the racial demographic. So they say, what's the Democrats? Okay, cool. It probably was the Democrats. So what's the racial makeup of that? And then they don't want to say it because it's woke. But when they want to talk about Crips and Bloods, they will say that's a black gang and that's a black neighborhood and the black community and the black this and the black that. Fine. Isn't Congress a white institution and a white gang and white degeneracy and white liars and all this stuff? Then it turns into, you hate white people. It's like, no, I'm just being descriptive. Are most Congress people white? Are most Democrats white? Are most CEOs white? Are most policemen white? And once you say yes to all that stuff, it turns into you're being woke. For telling the truth? Okay, what's the opposite of being woke? Being asleep? Being uninformed? That's a endorsement for being woke.
But if you are actually as smart as you say they are, there will be colleges knocking down the door to pay them to go to school, because after the scholarship, if you are fully funded, then you have a lot of money left over. And especially with today's day, like they can pretty much go to school free if they are as smart as you say they are. If you invested the time and resources into your...
And remind you, she said that her kids are naturally smarter, naturally better at everything than the other kids. And now she's saying, well, I just don't know what the school is going to do. Like, well, you said your kids are naturally smarter. So naturally, they're going to rise to the top, like the cream of the crop, right? Unless she's scared about those high IQ model minorities blowing her kids out the water.
Children, like you said, there's no need for this excuse. Do they do extracurricular activities? They speak another language. Like, what advantages?
Yes, they do.
Providing to their college?
Yes,
Okay,
they
so
do.
Are you drunk right now?
No.
No. That's not believable. Yeah, I don't know. This is just the new thing they do. They like to complain about minorities taking all the spots, even though they get accepted at 40% rate.
And then this is the whole thing that the W's like to do. They took our jobs. Okay, if they took your jobs, okay, who hired them, right? Let's just say that the illegals came in and took our jobs. Okay, who hired the illegals, right? So if they came over here seeking a better life, right? Fleeing a dire situation, fleeing gangs, cartels, and everything like that, right? And they just wanted a better life. That's understandable. But what's not understandable is American oligarchs undercutting American citizens, stagnating the wages, not willing to hire Americans because they want to hire people that they can exploit and treat like crap and pay under the table. And what I coined a term called MAE, mutually agreed exploitation. In many of the cases, these people know that they're getting exploited, but the exploitation is better than their situation, so they agree upon it. Almost like some of the dynamics where people will talk about, oh man, how could this chick have a pimp or something like that, right? Well, yeah, she may be getting exploited. And not all of these dynamics are the same, but I'm just talking about a specific scenario. She may be getting exploited, but it's mutually agreed upon. She was getting exploited already, but now this is a more beneficial version of exploitation, so it's a mutual agreement. Everyone agrees on it. And this is how it is too. When those people are sitting in front of Home Depot, they know that people are going to offer them lowball offers. They know that they're not going to pay them American wages. They know that they're being exploited for their labor. But many of them send money back. Look at the remittances. You know how much money we send, migrants send hundreds of billions of dollars back to their country. Many of them help stabilize their country with even the meager wages that they get here. Obviously, the dollar stretches further over there. So, yeah, mutually agreed upon exploitation. That's what many of these people do. Yeah, you know, they don't care if they're undercutting wages. They don't care if, you know, they stagnate wages because they're seeking a better life, which I could understand. But what about Americans? See, now when people used to talk about the American dream ain't even for Americans. The American dream is for immigrants and non-citizens. Our American dream was to own a house and have a white picket fence. Did anybody in the chat grow up with that American dream? You know, it was for people, you know, you know, you have a partner, you have a family, you have a kids, but it was you own a house and you have a white picket fence. Now they're pushing you will own nothing and be happy. Who will be more happy to own nothing? Americans who have fought, bled, and died for this land, or who have ancestors, you know, who built this land, or who have sacrificed their bodies, lives, and mental aptitude, you know, for this country, or somebody that's coming from a third world country who is just happy to be here. You know what I mean? Who do you think would buy into the American dream of being a renter all of their life more? You know what I mean? Someone from these dire straits, or for someone that's been here? You know, because as Americans, you do have American privilege, but many of us fought to earn that. You know what I mean? And now it's just saying, yeah, you shouldn't have an American privilege because America is just open for the globe to take. And we're welcoming. We're like, fine, you know, we don't mind having people come in. But once you have people come in to usurp another group, to replace a group, because they try to act like the great replacement theory is just some like kind of kooky far right thing. No, the great replacement is not a theory, it's a strategy. The Democrats are doing that right now. They essentially replace the black vote. That's why all they're talking about is immigrants. And then when they're not talking about immigrants, they're talking about trans. And then they occasionally mention black people because they want us to vote, basically put the final nail in the coffin so that they can just finish us off as a constituency so that they don't need our vote anymore. That's why they flooded the zone with tens of millions of what the legal term illegal aliens or undocumented immigrants. They strategically placed them in black neighborhoods to where it was a black neighborhood and now it's not a black neighborhood, right? There's Harlem and we like, fine, it's Harlem, you know, hey, we don't mind people coming in from different walks of life. And then they say, no, we don't want it to be Harlem. We want Spanish Harlem. Why it can't be Harlem where people speak English, speak Mandarin, speak Spanish? No, they say, no, it has to be Spanish Harlem. That's delineation right there. And then when we say, you know what, we need to delineate too. We don't even want to be by y'all. We don't want y'all in our mix. None of that stuff. Then suddenly that becomes divisive. When every other group is divided from us. When you create a little Haiti, when you create a little Havana, a little Saigon, you're dividing. This ain't Vietnam. This is not Haiti. This is not Nigeria. So once you're trying to transplant, what you're trying to say is, I'm trying to take over that area. I say, hey, look, America allows it, it's fine. But when we say, look, we want to take over an area that we built and we want to be exclusive, right? Just how Chinatown doesn't let Japantown infringe upon Chinatown. They like, yeah, you got Japantown over there. So when we saying, hey, look, we want to have our Freedman Town, we want to have our FBA communities. Hey, you're from Mexico? Yeah, go do your thing over there. You know what I mean? That's what y'all want to do anyways, because they're not coming to have some united black and brown people of color community. They're coming to take over communities. That's all they do. Name a community where non-black minorities have moved in and have worked to collab with the people. They start off humble, and then as soon as their numbers get up, they firebomb black people. They're spraying NK, which means nigger killer. You won't find no area where we sprayed MK, Mexican killer, LK, Latino killer. We don't do shit like that. You know what I mean? But other groups have done that to us. And then they want us to put the cape on for immigration because of US imperialism. Okay, when they came over here and called us niggers, that wasn't because of you. There was no US imperialists with their gun to their head forcing them to say that.
Real talk. Real talk. And thank you so much, Dan. Listen.
Wow.
No. Dan, oh, Jenny, your husband, your Mexican husband home?
What you are seeing on the screen is a $75,000, 0% interest business.
Don't say they're Mexican when they're Puerto Rican.
Oh.
Bam. Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? He said, hey, is your Mexican husband home? She said, no, don't say they're Mexican when they're Puerto Rican. Oh, but Mexicans are Hispanic? Puerto Ricans are Hispanic. Mexicans are Latino. Puerto Ricans are Latino. Right? Why are they being divisive? Oh, so you mean that other groups delineate? Other groups delineate, so you can't call a Puerto Rican Mexican. You can't call a Mexican Puerto Rican, but somehow you can call a Jamaican a foundational Black American. You can call a Haitian a foundational Black American. We all Black. Yeah, we're all different. Because if that's the case, Asians, Koreans, Thai, Cambodians, they're all Asian. Go ask if a Chinese person if they think they're the same as a Filipino person. Go ask a Filipino person if they think they're the same as a Korean person the same as a Japanese person. But suddenly we're supposed to pretend that a person from Jamaica is the same as a person from Somalia. The Somalian person is the same as a person from Senegal. No, we are different ethnic groups. We have different culture, different heritage, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a beautiful thing. Everyone else is always delineated. We are late to the delineation party. So this lady just said, don't call her boyfriend Mexican because he's Puerto Rican. But I thought y'all was all one big Hispanic group. But no, it looks like we're not the only ones delineating. Are people going to go wag their fingers and say that she's being divisive, or is she just being descriptive? Let's commence.
Do extracurricular activities. They speak another language. Like, what advantages?
Yes,
are
they
they
do.
providing to their college?
Yes,
Okay,
they
so
do.
Are you drunk right now?
No.
No. That's not believable. Yeah, I don't know. This is just the new thing they do. They like to complain about minorities taking all the spots, even though they get accepted at 40% rate.
Real talk. Real talk. And thank you so much, Dan. Listen.
Wow.
No. Dan, oh, Jenny, your husband, your Mexican husband home?
Don't say they're Mexican when they're Puerto Rican.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
He's Puerto Rican. Shout out to the Puerto Rican husband, or soon to be husband. All right. But listen, and that's white, by the way. Puerto Rican, they're still classified as white. So that's a white household. So that black abuela is something in a village in Puerto Rico. He's
No, Puerto Rican is a Hispanic.
Which is white.
Hispanic. No, it's not. It's Hispanic white.
Don't get me involved in this right now.
It's Hispanic white.
It is.
Did y'all hear that? So she asked him, is Hispanic white, which she should know. Aren't these the high IQs? And he's saying, don't get me involved in this right now. And see, this is where the cowardly stuff comes in, because people will be Hispanic and they'll check the W box. They'll be happy to check it. And then when you try to check them on it and say, hey, you're part of the W community. I'm Hispanic. Yeah, you are a white Hispanic. I'm Hispanic. Yeah, you are a white Hispanic. It just turns into a repeat, and they don't want to emphasize the white part. They want to emphasize the Hispanic and Latino part. So then you have to clearly say, yeah, that's your ethnicity, that's your, cultural identifier, but what race are you? And they'll just keep trying to say Hispanic, even though it's not a race. And she's pretending that she doesn't know that. But Tariq was talking about how the majority of people on Puerto Rico identify as white. Well, there's this new thing now where that many Hispanics they've always identified as white, but up until recently, they tried to say that we're people of color, even though when someone says they're a person of color, follow that. Okay, what color are you? Technically, Fat Joe is a person of color, but what color is Fat Joe? AOC is a person of color. What color is she? They're the same color as these lily white people, but you can't call them white because they're Hispanic. Okay, so what color are you? Fat Joe ain't brown. AOC is not brown. So what color are we calling them? Why are we acting like we have some solidarity with people of color, with people that don't even identify as a color? When we say we're black, we know that we're not the color black. We're using that as a ethnic identifier. We are actually brown skinned, and many of us are lighter than that. So when we say black, we don't actually mean the color black. We're using that color as an ethnic identifier, just like many white people are, beige, palm colored, in various colors. They're using white as an ethnic identifier. What Mexicans or Latinos go around using brown as an ethnic identifier? The only time they say brown is when they try to say black and brown, and that's usually to tether on to something to get us to crash out for some sort of political agenda that doesn't benefit us. Asians, right? Asians were called yellow. What yellow Asians do you know? What does anyone know an Asian that identifies as yellow? So then again, what color are they? Many Chinese people are more whiter than the whitest white person here. So again, what color are they? And then you want to look like a goofy calling them a person of color when we were the only ones called color. All these other groups fought to not be labeled as color, and now we want to turn around and call them colored to have some fake solidarity? No.
70% of Puerto Rico classified.
No.
It is, sir. But like I was saying, man, are you listening to me or listening to Javier? What's going on?
I would rather listen to the guy that's next to me right now.
Okay. Okay.
Like you're being a little bit nasty.
How so? How so? You're on the phone with me. You're talking to him, man.
And no, you're being a little condescending, and I'm trying to have conversations with you, and I'm trying to get his input simultaneously.
Hey, don't ever call me a POC, or I'm gonna call you a POS, because person of color is one of the most offensive and one of the most idiotic. And they said it's a slur, but I'm not monetized, so I'm gonna use it. It's one of the most retarded terms to use, especially when we're talking about FBA, Black Americans, melanated people, specific. Like I said, the groups that they have listed as people of color don't even have color and don't identify as a color. And when they talk about color, person of color, they ain't talking about your black ass. They're literally not. If they do, they say POC to use you as the mascot. And then once you're used as the mascot and they get tangibles passed for POC, guess who doesn't get anything? See, when they get tangibles for POC, guess what you get? SHIT, sugar honey iced tea. That's all you get in a George Floyd statue that nobody asked for. And then also, if y'all want to play this game, think about how stupid this sounds. Hey, Big Rig, you're a colored person. You can't say that. That's racist. Big Rig, you're a person of color. Okay, that sounds good. Huh? Colored person, person of color. Like nobody even just draws the thing. Calling someone a colored person is bad. Calling someone a person of color is somehow good. Are you kidding me? And then on top of that, fine, let's just keep using the term. person of color, person of color. But then on the flip side, that means that we have to call the white people persons of no color, people who lack color, people devoid of color, people with deficient color, people with diminishing color, people who lack color. So that sounds stupid. People of no color sound stupid, but people of color sounds good to y'all? Are you kidding me?
Honestly.
Okay, but we have thousands of people listening right now, so they have to be entertained somehow. So.
I'm sure they will be.
Bam, you hit it on the mark. Shout out to Fast Decision Watch. I'm gonna have to use that, bro. Yay, if y'all want to stick with the POC thing, fine. Remember, y'all know my acronym. Same energy, same logic. Y'all want to call me a POC? Then I'm gonna call you a POS or a PONC. I like that. Shout out to Fascism Watch.
I'm sure.
But yeah, we're just trying to get to the crux of your fears.
And the last time I checked, pink and white is not the same color. So many people who are pink call themselves white. Many people who are black are actually brown. So when we're saying black, we're talking about that as a lineage, as a race and ethnic identifier / ethnonym. Same thing that they do when they use white, which is, really interchangeable, and they try to adopt people into it based on their political agenda. That's why Italians weren't considered white, Irish weren't considered white, Lebanese people, Egyptians, and then one day they say, you know what? Our numbers are dwindling. Our birth rates are declining. Hey, Lebanese people, you are white. Hey, Palestinian people, right? Because people like to say, they talk about the Muslim this, the Muslim that. There's no race called Muslim. There's no race called Arab. So Palestinian people have, guess what? Guess what they've been classified in America? Not African American, right? Palestine is in North Africa. They ain't never been classified as African American, nor should they be. They've been classified as white. Lebanese people, they're Middle Eastern, they're Arab, they're white. Egyptians, they're Arab, they're white. If they're not, look on the census and look at what box they have them classified under. There's no gun to their head forcing them to check that box. They willingly check it. And now they finally said, you know what? We want to be something else. We'll call ourselves MENA, Middle Eastern North African. But once again, North African is not a race and Middle Eastern is not a race. Middle Eastern is a relatively modern term and a made up term, right? When you think of Middle East, what do you think of? Like, someone with a head wrap, someone with a keffiyeh. I mean, is that the typical Middle Eastern, or are there darker Middle Eastern people? Are there lighter Middle Eastern? Yeah, because it's not a race. You know what I mean? There's different phenotypes, but these people have fought to be labeled as white, but then when you call them white, people get mad. You can't call me white. Well, you've been checking the white box for decades, and now that you finally want to decide to say that you're not white, you want me to honor that? You want me to just forget the 20, 30 plus years that you said you were white, especially on the island of Puerto Rico? Up into 2020, 80% of them were identifying as racially white. This is on the island of Puerto Rico, which was a slave colony. And now they say, well, the majority of people identify as multiracial there. You know what multiracial means? Either bi or triracial. You know what that means? Mixed. But then when you call them mixed, they say, I'm Hispanic. So one day they'll be Hispanic, another day they'll be Afro-Hispanic, another day they'll just be mixed. And then they get around some lily white people and they say, I'm a W, just like you. It's just like, man, bro, we sick of the racial Monty, the racial 3-card Monty and the tethering. Draw a line in the sand. Be proud of your lineage. A zebra is going to be a zebra wherever they at. If you take a zebra from the Oakland Zoo to the San Francisco Zoo, they ain't going to say, I'm a Clydesdale now. I'm a Mustang. No, it's still a zebra. You know what I mean? And that's how we are. You take a foundational Black American to Philly, to Puerto Rico, to Senegal, to Brazil, to South Korea, we still gonna stand on FBA business. I say FBA ADD, and the ADD stands for all damn day.
And your dilemma. So you're saying that you're upset that you think that your children, when they go to college, that they're gonna be deprioritized by people.
No, and this is the thing. North Africa is still Africa, but they don't want to be associated with It's weird because many of these North Africans, they'll try to say that they're Middle Eastern. You know what I mean? It's like, but the Middle East is in Africa. In just the Middle East is just a made-up term. Where's the Middle West, the Middle North? All it is a made-up term to try to say, look, you guys are different than those air quotes sub-Saharans, which is another made-up term to try to say that when they came up with the Middle East term, is just to say that, hey, you guys, you're not white, but you're darker Caucasian, so you're saying that you're white adjacent. That's really all someone saying that they're Middle Eastern means. They try to act like it doesn't mean that until they get to America and check the W box. They have a box that says other, right? You don't have to check that box, but if you're checking that box, either because you believe that you're white or because you want to reap the benefits, either way, both of them are extremely insidious.
People who are undeserving of scholarships. This is what you're saying, right?
No, my fear is that I think a lot of kids, despite the fact that if they're...
Hey, shout out to Stan in the chat cooking. He says Hispanics need to go to Spain. They will tell them what they are. Yes, because people say, I'm Spanish. No, you're not. You're not no Spaniard. You speak Spanish. If you go to Spain, they gonna let you know Spain is as European as it gets. And you go there, they gonna let you know, hey, Kendrick Lamar, y'all not like us, that's gonna be their anthem over in Spain. All of the people that say, I'm Mexican, I'm Taino, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Venezuelan, I'm Honduran, and I speak Spanish. Yeah, go over there with the Spaniards and see how they feel about you.
You know, if they have any kind of, handicap, it might be minor to many people, but it's not to the people that are applying. I think those people need to worry. I think my kids that are white males, yeah, I think they need to worry a little bit.
Okay.
She said her kids are white males and they need to worry. And this is so when it comes to black males, and if someone says that black males need to worry, about their future, whether it be police brutality, occupational segregation and discrimination, you know what people are going to say: pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. You see yourself as a victim. Stop whining. You can do anything. If you believe it, you can achieve it. All of these cliche terms, right? But then when you flip that on her, here she is, a lily white Kooky Karen raising two white males, and she's acting like they're just victims, and that I just don't know what their future is going to be. But you just said that they were smarter than everyone, right? They're high IQs. They'll figure it out.
White students, they already receive the overwhelming majority.
No.
You really?
I'm going to disagree with you.
First of all, I don't care if white people are calling themselves the global minority, but if they are collectively calling themselves that, it would be an accurate description. What are they, like 7% of the global population? That sounds like a minor number, so it would be an accurate description.
I disagree.
They get the majority of private scholarships and institutional aid. They make up the bulk of people with legacy access, network connections, institutional preference, man.
Is it because they're the bigger group that's applying for these scholarships? Like, is there like something you're not saying?
No, they get legacy access. They got
Did the African Americans not apply for the same things?
Would it be a bad idea if you use our credit card to pay for your marketing? Actually, it is a shark from the TV show.
Because there's lots of factors to look at, right? So I'm not stupid. Don't treat me like I'm stupid. I'm not.
Say that. I didn't say you were stupid. I'm just telling you. Facts
No, it's just
are the real priority system. You know somebody who knows somebody, and those people that you know are white. They let each other in based on, hey, I know your dad, I know your mom.
no. None of my family is involved in academics at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure where that's coming from. So I'm gonna just kind of
And also, white underperformances are rewarded. Black excellence is usually punished, ma'am. A white high school dropout chance of being higher than a black college graduate. This has been proven over and over.
Exactly. So here she goes. Like Stan says, African American scholarships has nothing to do with her sons. And once again, she said that her sons are high IQs. They're just naturally smarter. So their extracurricular activity, them speaking extra languages, them getting these amazing grades is what's going to get them into college. Why is she worried about a scholarship that her kids wouldn't be eligible for anyways?
White felons the same way. White felons can go out and they more chance of getting a call back for a job than a black man with no criminal record, ma'am.
listen. I'll tell you. I've heard it all. Right. I'm gonna tell you. White men are treated unfairly in jail. Ooh, shit.
And unfairly.
Here we go again. Did y'all hear her? White men are treated unfairly in jail. Okay, who is treated fairly in jail? So if white men are treated unfairly in jail, what do you think black men are treated? Are you saying white men are treated more unfairly than black men? Let's just say white men are treated unfairly because it's jail. They're prisoners. They see them as scum of the earth. Of course, they're going to treat them unfairly, unfortunately. But if you are conceding that white men are being treated unfairly, then wouldn't she have to concede that black men are being treated unfairly? But if you ask her, I'm sure she's gonna say, yeah, they're being treated unfairly, but white men have it worse. And then if you start asking her how do they have it worse, she won't be able to explain it. Because when you start asking, when you get into the prison industrial complex, who is running that? Not a bunch of black people running that. Yeah, you can say, yeah, man, they locked a bunch of niggas up. Yeah, they locked niggas up, but it's not no niggas that's running the prison industrial complex. So who is running it, right? What racial demographic of people are pushing and promulgating this prison industrial complex? I can assure you it ain't no niggas.
In jail? Really? Who's treated white felons the same way? White felons can go out and they more chance of getting a call back for a job than a black man with no criminal record, ma'am.
Listen, I'll tell you. I've heard it all. Right. I'm gonna tell you. White men are treated unfairly in jail. Ooh, shit.
Unfairly in jail? Really? Who's treated fair in jail? Who's being treated fair in jail? Jen. Okay. Well, okay. Jen ain't saying nothing. Her Puerto Rican husband might have snatched the phone.
Okay, so yeah, we gonna and stop with that one because it looks like the chick had tapped out. So we are reaching, it looks like almost 3 hours in this thing, man. So I have to give a gigantic shout out to everyone that has been viewing this concurrently, the people that's going to watch on the replay game. And I'm going to just keep hitting y'all with substantive, valuable, and interesting content. And if you want to support, you want to contribute, I got the Cash App scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And I have to give a profound and a special shout out to Sincere Saida. She, they say money talks, and she hit your boy on the Cash App. I wasn't expecting it, but it was greatly appreciated. This is a lovely sister. Make sure that y'all go to her page and subscribe. She has a lot of juicy tea over there, and she has just a lot of informative content, entertaining and engaging. So like I said, man, anybody that sends me anything, whether it's $1 or whether it's $1 million, I appreciate it the same, So just to let y'all know, if y'all do want to make a contribution, y'all can hit your boy up on the Cash App. I do have other platforms, but I know Cash App is just pretty simple. So that's why I'm going to hit y'all like this.
Don't you think it's about time you gave me my money?
I need cash. Please send that money. Please send that money. Please send that money. My money. I need cash. My money. I need cash. My money.
And we're getting ready to shut her down. But man, this has been an amazing stream. Shout out to Stan, the man. Shout out to Fascism Watch, man. You've been engaging in the chat, giving some thoughtful responses. Ashura slid through, John Sinatra, Big Rig Slaps slid through, my boy Braxton slid through, and I think I got everybody. M3, and of course, I would be remiss without giving the extra super duper Cajafagilicious Expialidocious shout out again to Sincere Saida. She always coming through, sharing out, and speaking with the Cash App. So I also like to tell y'all, this won't cost you a fee. The likes are free. Hit your boy with a like, share this out. Actually, let me hit you.
Time for a like intermission. We kindly request that you show love to the channel's creator and platform by leaving a like, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. Liking posts is completely free and helps the algorithm boost our reach. We want to grow the community larger and larger. So thank you all who take the time to support us. It does mean the world to us and doesn't go unnoticed.
And thank you, Fascism Watch, for sharing the channel. And look, man, we about to shut her down. Hopefully y'all stick around. I'm gonna play these last visuals. So yeah, chill in the chat because I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah.
Hey.
B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah. Shit so hot it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. I bring the pain like an aftermath of a car wreck. There's a lot of niggas that say they real. To me, that shit is far-fetched. Them cats is pussy. They really is on some feminine stuff. I ride up on them with the 40 ounces to definition of adrenaline rush. What it do is sweet like cinnamon puffer. My niggas is rough like Brillo pads. Grew up out on Mary Mac, but I used to hang on Willow pads. These birds that I roll with, outcasts and misfits. Better zip lips so you get hit when the fifth spit. Flat line in your fit hit. Trap habits is black magic, no voodoo. Get the bands like Goku for the cocaine to go cuckoo. shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on shite racking and fly back out to Milwaukee. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the drawer is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so high, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.